Let's get a man. Full community interview and got another one. Grla Hebrew.
Yes, sir.
Explain to the people what exactly is a Hebrew Israelite.
So a Hebrew Israelite, we believe that black people and the indigenous peoples of the Americas, now identified as Latino, Hispanic, and Native American, are the literal descendants of the ancient Israelites. So all the people that we read about in the Bible, Moses, Daniel, David, Jesus, Paul, etc., we believe literally those are our ancestors.
And you came to that conclusion how?
Through examining biblical prophecy as well as historical documentation. So the biblical description of how the Israelites and what position the Israelites would be in the last days, taking a look at that, and we fit that description totally. And then also taking a look at historical documentation, Hebraic customs that we had in West Africa and the Americas and things like that.
What do you mean by the last days?
So the last days prophetically started after the crucifixion of Jesus, and it's just about the culmination of, quote unquote, the world as we know it. Not like the end of the world, like the entire planet Earth is going to be destroyed, but there being a changing of the guard. So even when you deal with, the Aztec, the calendar, the Mesoamerican calendar that they say was predicting the end in 2012, if you actually take a look at it, it's not predicting the end of the world, like the world was just going to come to an end, but it was talking about a change of the guard. And what's interesting is it's a count of 144,000 days. Right. And in the Bible, that number is significant, the 144,000. So the ancient Aztecs had that laid out for 144,000 days. And it starts in 1619. So what's interesting about 1619 is that's when the slave trade began as far as the importation of slaves into what's now known as the United States in Jamestown and Virginia. So from that point, for 144,000 days, what the Mesoamericans believed was at the end of that calendar, there was going to be like a change of the world, right? It was going to be basically like a new world, but it's not a new planet. But as far as the world as we know it was going to end. So that was like a time where, white people got on top, and then they were going to have their time, and then that was going to come to an end. So that's what we mean by the last days, when their time comes to an end.
So are you saying that prior to 1619, the Israelites, they were up, and the white people, they were kind of...
To a point, like if you look in the Americas, we look in West Africa, in the Americas, they come in 1492, of course, and they begin the conquest of the Americas. But prior to that, of course, what do we have? We have empires. We have the Aztec Empire, the Mayan Empire, the Inca Empire here. On the west coast of Africa, you have the Kingdom of Dahomey, you have the Mali Empire. You have all of that going on, and we're all by ourselves, thriving, having kingdoms, riches, resources, everything. And then all of a sudden, somebody creeps up out of Western Europe and brings an end to all of that,
So this is interesting, right? Because I've tried to do my own research on where, our people, the Mexican people have came from. And I could only go as far as back the Aztec Empire, right? Where were the quote unquote Mexican, right? You call them Issachar, correct?
He's at tribe Issachar.
Where were they at prior to them forming the Aztec Empire?
Well, according to the history of the Aztecs, they came from Texas, right? So then they migrated off into there. But what we believe is ultimately you guys are a part of the northern kingdom of Israel. So there was a migration that occurred. So after the time of King Solomon is King David's son.
Which is around what time exactly?
This is like 27, in between 27 and 3,000 years ago, right?
Okay.
So at that time, there was a split in the nation of Israel. The nation of Israel was 12 tribes. There was a beef between the tribes, and there was a split between the tribes. 3 tribes were in the south, and 9 tribes was in the north. The tribes in the north said, hey, we functioning like we're a whole different people than you now. We're separating ourselves from y'all totally. That became the kingdom of Israel and the kingdom of Judah. So what we say is today that the kingdom of Judah is so-called blacks who came over here in slavery, be it in the Americas or in the United States or in the Caribbean. That's the kingdom of Judah. Then the kingdom of Israel would be the indigenous people. So when that split happened, the northern kingdom was carried into slavery by the Assyrians, right? After the Assyrian captivity, they left and got on boats and they came to a place called Arsareth, right? That's where if you watch the movie 1492 about Christopher Columbus, when he's talking about coming to America, he references Arsareth, which is written about in the Bible in 2nd Ezra in the 13th chapter. It says the northern kingdom came to a land that nobody ever lived in before.
And
right?
Arsareth is what's America today, correct?
America, and there's various scholars that believe that Arsareth is America, right? Various scholars that believe that. So you can even look it up in the Jewish Encyclopedia. They identify specifically Arsareth with Peru. So we believe that in outside of the Aztecs, the Mayans say that they were fleeing from the east, and they came on ships over to this side of the world in Mayan history. So what we believe is that the Northern Kingdom, y'all got on boats and y'all sailed over here. It says that it took 1.5 years to sail over here, right? So it took them 1.5 years to sail from the Middle East area all the way here to the Americas, and then y'all begin to settle in North, Central, and South America, becoming the first inhabitants of this place.
Okay, and this switch that you're talking about in 1619, is this prophecy? Like, is this fate? Was this supposed to happen, or did somewhere along the lines did the Israelites do something that caused the change to happen?
Both, right?
Okay.
So it's prophecy that if we didn't follow the commandments of God, that negative things were going to occur to us, right?
Such as white people putting us in slavery, correct?
Exactly.
Is that what you're referring to?
That's like the number one thing, them putting us in slavery, us being dependent on people outside of ourselves for our own survival, for our daily needs, because a lot of people, they only want to relegate it to like the most harshest aspects of oppression or slavery, and that happened to our ancestors, certainly. But even today, we still are completely reliant on people outside of us, even those of us who have our own countries. Like my family's from Haiti. We're entirely reliant on foreign powers to get all of our resources. People outside of us have control over us. Even if you look at Mexico and Central America, you have Lebanese people, white people, they're at the head of industry in these countries. You see what I'm saying? So all of that is actually a part. Like when the owner of IKEA became the richest man in the world, and everyone was like, oh, the richest man in the world is Mexican. Well, he's Lebanese. He's Mexican technically, of course, because he's born in Mexico, but he's Lebanese.
So this is interesting, right? Because the biggest Mexican regional artist in Mexico right now is Peso Pluma.
Peso
right?
Pluma.
And he's actually Lebanese,
He's
right?
actually Lebanese, yeah.
So,
and that killed me too, because I was like, damn it, I like Peso Pluma. You know what I'm saying? I was like, damn, he's Lebanese? That even blew my mind.
So technically he's not a real Mexican, even though he's born in Mexico.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So he we have nature versus nurture. So of course, if you're born in a country, you come up in a culture, you're going to adapt to that culture. But is your lineage from the cultivators of that culture? No. You know what I'm saying? We know that those are, the descendants of the indigenous people of Mexico who, cultivate the culture of Mexico.
So let's go back to the
1619, yeah.
Right. So what exactly did the hit? Because you said it's prophecy, it's half prophecy, half the Israelites fucked up. How did the Israelites fuck up?
What we did was essentially not love each other, right? If we take a look at pre-colonial history, pre-Columbian history, be it in West Africa, be it in the Americas, we have the same thing going on. Different tribes related to each other, murdering each other, killing each other, hating each other, oppressing each other. We were doing that before the Spaniards sailed, the Englishman, the Dutchman, the French. Before they came and started doing it to us, we was doing it to each other. And I think that's where we went wrong. And that's why God allowed a foreign power to come and do it to us as a punishment.
So this is interesting, right? Because the tribes going against each other, especially in what is called Mexico at today, right? So I don't know if you heard, too familiar with La Malinche.
Yeah, Malinche. I actually got a T-shirt on my website, No Malinchismo.
So question, do you think La Malinche was wrong, or do you think she was in the right? Because like you said, the tribes were going at each other, going to war with each other. Was she in the right or was she in the wrong?
I think she was dead wrong. I think that was the treacherous, like she's like a top level traitor. So there's a story, the first lynching that ever occurred in the Americas was in the Dominican Republic of Haiti, before it was called that, right? It was a Taino woman, Ana Corona, and she literally said they killed her brother, they killed her father, and the Spanish man, he just wanted to marry her. And she's like, you can lynch me before I'll marry you. You see what I'm saying? That's a stand-up sister. That's what Malinche should have did. Instead, she got with Hernan Cortez and sold out the whole of Mexico.
So I interviewed Cholo Juan like 5 months ago, and I asked him about this. And he actually was in favor of La Malinche because he pretty much said that she got her lick back, as he said, quote unquote, because she was raped, I guess, and all these other things, going to war with other tribes. So he doesn't see no wrong in what she did. Could you see where he's coming from when he says that?
I could see where he's coming from, but my thing is, there got to come a point, right? Whereas there's got to be a level of morality in the game, whereas clicking up with this outsider to go against, like you can't do that. If I got to get my lick back against some people that we're distantly related to, then we gonna do that. I'm not finna get with this guy who just came off a damn boat from the other side of the world and click up with him in order to do it, because ultimately what you end up doing is selling out your entire race. You know, it's so much bigger than her lick at that point. And that's what sometimes we lose sight of, how big something is, where you're just thinking about personally how you feel and what this means to you, but ultimately through her being motivated by her own personal vendetta, she sold all of her people out, you know, and has become the poster child for being a sellout, essentially. You know, she's like the Mexican equivalent of an Uncle Tom. Like, you're the worst type of Mexican that there could be, is Maleche, you know?
Do you see that a lot today?
What you mean, like
With people selling out to their own race?
For sure. Our people, be it Black, Hispanic, Native American, our people love selling out, bro. They absolutely love it, and it's a complex of, you know, like the house Negro that people know about. Like, if I can get closer to the house, if I can get closer to massa, the better I will be, and I'm just looking out for me. That's what a lot of our people be thinking in their minds.
What do you got to say to people who say, well, I got to do what I got to do to put food on the table or pay the bills?
We all do.
Do you respect that?
I don't. I only respect respectable ways to put the food on the table, right? Because some people could turn around and say, well, hey, man, I traffic kids, and that's how I got to put the food on the table. Wait, huh? We can't respect that. You see what I'm saying? So there's got to be a line.
You take it that serious to even to where, like to that point too?
Yeah, you got to, because we got, a man got to have a code, right? There's got to be a code. There's got to be a line that's like, we're not crossing this line. I'm not selling my people out. I'm not selling my own soul for a dollar bill. You know, what profit is it if a man gained the whole world, but he loses his soul? It's no profit in that. So we always got to have a line on, you know, the things that we do, for sure.
I want to go to, how did you stumble across this knowledge?
Yeah, so in 2008, man, I was on World Star Hip Hop, and I seen a video, you know, with the typical white depiction of Jesus with horns on it. Now, I grew up Catholic, you know, so to me, you know, I always seen this image, but I always kind of had a conflict, like internally. I kind of rejected it in my mind, but I never had any evidence or information to prove it. You know, I never really read the Bible, did any research on anything like that. So I felt like this wasn't an accurate depiction of Jesus, but I had zero idea on how to go about substantiating it. So I just had to accept it. So when I saw the white Jesus with the devil horns on it in the thumbnail of the video, I clicked the video. And then, you know, it was brothers on the street, and they were dealing with a Colombian brother, and they were explaining to him, hey, this is how Jesus looks according to the Bible. This is who the 12 tribes of Israel are, etc. So from there, I pretty much was sold, because they was able to show everything with the scripture. So, hey, who am I to argue?
And what year was this?
2008.
Oh, okay. So 2008. So off the gate, did you take it serious, or were you kind of dibbling and dabbling, and then there was a point where you really went full on gas?
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. So like I saw it, I believed it automatically. Like, I just received it. It clicked with me. It resonated with me. So I believed it. But I was 17, finna be 18 at the time. I was still in the street. So it took me a couple years to like really get involved.
Oh, okay. I see. So I want to ask you, this is very interesting, right? Because are you familiar with Billy Carson?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Okay. How do you feel about his, his theories and
man,
whatnot?
I think Billy Carson is crazy. Like, it's crazy because you know, I do a lot of debates, and I did so many debates. I'm like, people are like, who do you want to debate? And I'm like, I really don't want to debate anybody, but if it's going to be anybody, probably Billy Carson, because you know, he's like so left field with a lot of stuff, and a lot of the stuff he says is just baseless. And then you know, recently he had the debate with Wes Huff.
With the Christian.
Yeah, with the Christian.
So, yeah.
And it was bad. And I'm like, now I ain't got to debate him. He's done.
It kind of seems after that, his career just took a complete downfall.
Because when you take so many weak stances, or like manufactured stances that really don't have the proof on it, like you really are making yourself vulnerable to getting done like that.
Is there anything he says that you can agree with, or do you completely disagree?
I think there's some stuff I've heard him say that I'm with totally. I think so for sure. Not a lot though, but I want to say there was something I seen him do maybe a couple weeks ago that I was like, all right, like I like what he said there, like that's on point. But I can't even remember what it was. But I wouldn't say totally disagree with. But a lot of the more popular theories that he postulates, for sure, I'm in disagreement with.
When you say popular, as far as like alien theories and things,
alien theories, What he says about the Sinai Bible, which is not even the name of the text that he's referring to, which is, he's talking about the Syriac Sinaiticus, which West Huff exposed and things like that. So like stuff like that. Nah, we not with that.
So I want to ask you about this because you said you grew up Catholic, correct?
Yeah, for sure.
So a lot of our people grow up Catholic, and it's very prominent in Mexico and Mexican Americans. Like, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about Catholicism?
I feel like, man, it's one of the most evil institutions in history.
Explain.
And if we just take a look at the track record, we take a look at what it's endorsed, what it's fueled, what it's profited from, what it's done in this world, especially to our people. The worst things ever have happened to us because of them at their endorsement. And here in California, we have the mission system, which is just all about taking and making us unlearn our culture and learn a new culture and learn a new religion and learn a new language. So yeah, I have a definite negative outlook on the Catholic Church, but I also understand how it plays into our lives as being Haitian in Latin America culturally, because that's the number one religion that all of us have. So culturally, it's such a major part of our culture, and because we take as a people God so seriously, like I remember, because even Catholicism also kind of is different in different cultures. So I remember when I moved to California and I'd be riding the bus home from school and we going by the church and all the Mexican kids do the sign of the cross. Now, I was never taught to do that, but that's what they did. You see what I'm saying? So we take it serious. Just driving by a church is like we're going by the holy place. Like we got to do it. So it's deeply ingrained in our culture, and I do understand that.
How do you feel about the Virgin Mary?
Well, I feel like the Virgin Mary and the veneration of the Virgin Mary is really adapted from pagan religions that surrounded Israel.
Pagan, define pagan.
Pagan, like those that the Israelites were told by God not to partake in, right?
Okay.
So this virgin worship, this feminine deity worship was popular in other cultures, and these were the cultures, if you read in the Bible, God is telling us don't go and mingle with those people. Don't follow after their ways. Don't even marry them, because if you intermarry with them, they're going to influence you to follow that. That's where a lot of that comes from when you do the historical investigation. So when we deal with Mary, she's the mother of Jesus Christ, and she's important. But what's crazy, Jesus has an interaction where he's preaching, and a woman in the crowd starts bigging up Mary. And Jesus stops the woman who's doing that and says, but more blessed is he that, do the will of God. Right? So even when he was encountered with this special emphasis on Mary, he combated that. So that's something that we really don't see biblically precedented. And I talked about like a month or two ago when 9/11 happened. I was in fifth grade. I went to Catholic school 5th grade year. And they had us all in the auditorium, and we were just saying a Hail Mary over and over and over. And I ain't gonna lie, man, even at 10 years old, sitting in the auditorium, man, I was creeped out by the whole thing. I'm like, man, it feels like a cult right now, what we're doing, man. We're just saying the Hail Mary over and over and over. And it's like if the way it's making me feel inside is not good, man. I'm kind of spooked out right now. You know what I'm saying? So, so I think that Mary needs to be honored, of course, as the mother of Jesus, but the emphasis and the worship that we were taught in the Catholic Church was really adapted from paganism.
Okay, so you still have a certain level of respect for Virgin Mary.
Got to.
Okay.
Because we taught to respect all the women and men and all of our people. You see what I'm saying? So definitely, and then of course, she was a chosen vessel to carry out a very special thing to birth our Lord and Savior. So we definitely gonna put respect on that and honor on that, but not to the point that we're taught to do in the Catholic Church.
Because if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, there were videos circulating of Hebrew Israelites who were talking down on Virgin Mary and calling her a whore and things of that nature.
Oh, if that happened, I'm not familiar with that, but we certainly don't take any anti-Mary stance at all. No.
Oh, okay.
No.
So let's stay on this religion topic,
yes,
right?
Sir.
Because it kind of seems as in lately, as far as Hispanics, I wouldn't just say Mexican Americans, but Hispanics, the past 3 years, it's been very popularized, especially in music, to start practicing Santeria, right? And it kind of seems, and it has like a grip on the youth.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them are starting to fuck around, put the beads on. What is your stance on Santeria?
Yeah, my stance on that it would be the same like Catholicism. Like it's not something that we should be practicing. And when we understand where a lot of that comes from, when we deal with the cultural syncretism that existed during the transatlantic slave trade and everything that was going on, we have the Spanish, we have the French, we got we got the different Western Europeans, then we got West Africans, then we got indigenous people. So we have three cultures, right, coming together and merging into one. So what's happening as that's going on is we're adopting and we're adapting, we're borrowing, and we are creating kind of like a cultural gumbo. It's just like now, like a lot of people that like it's just controversy on Mexicans saying nigga, right? But what people don't understand is this is actually the natural progression of cultures when they're among each other. You're going to borrow words. You're going to borrow recipes. You're going to borrow dress styles. You're going to borrow religion. You're going to borrow all of that. We could observe this all over the world throughout time, right? So people are alarmed by it, and people can have whatever their opinion they have. I don't have no problem with that. But what you're actually witnessing is what happens when you got cultures who are living like this with each other. You're going to borrow from each other. It is completely, totally natural. Before the word op got popular, the brothers in LA was calling their opposition their enemigos. Well, where did they get that from? You got that from Mexicans, right? We don't speak Spanish. So we're going to borrow that. That's just naturally what's going to happen. But that's how Santeria came. Same thing. It was a borrowing of, we got this West African system and pantheon that's coming over here, voodoo, Ifa, things like that. And it's merging with the indigenous practices, and then it's merging with Catholicism. And then boom, we got Santeria.
Do you feel like the Santeria is completely bogus, or do you kind of believe some of the things they do come into fruition?
I believe it totally, just like I believe voodoo totally. I just think we shouldn't practice it because these are practices that the Most High told us not to indulge in. I think that a lot of times we try to, because we don't truly understand God, we try to like go roundabout, not realizing that if you just serve God and pray to God, you don't have to do any rituals to get stuff done, for things to work in your favor, for your enemies to be ashamed. You can get that done simply from just serving the Most High and praying to him, versus I got to go burn the candle, I got to go do this ritual, I got to sacrifice this. Nah, just do right by God, and God is going to do right by you.
So you definitely believe in the rituals?
Oh, for sure. 1000%. Yeah.
Have you ever had an instance in your life where you did think about dibbling and dabbling with Santeria?
When my culture is voodoo,
because you are Haitian, right?
Yeah, Haitian.
Very popular
voodoo.
out there.
And what's crazy is I had met me and my boy years ago at a bar. We had met this Puerto Rican girl, right? And she does Santeria, and she was like, my bro was like, oh yeah, he Haitian, boom boom, and she looked at me like so wide eyed, and she's like, can you teach me voodoo? Because like even amongst Latin America, like voodoo is like the top of the magic. You see what I'm saying? So when they see a Haitian, they're like, well, wait a minute, like I know we might be doing this over here, but like, can you teach me that though? You know what I mean? Because that's like, it's huge amongst us. But as big as it is, a lot of Haitians really distance themselves and don't, indulge in that. But I can't say that I've thought about dibbling and dabbling with it, but I do understand it, what it is, and understand that it is real. No matter what anybody says, it's definitely real for sure.
I want to go back to what you said about the end times, right? Mm-hmm. You said after quote unquote Jesus, or what is called Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
After he passed away, that's when the end times began, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
So you genuinely believe we're in the end times?
For sure, 100%.
I mean, my thing is, how long can the end times last? Because I mean, we're talking about when
2,000 years. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm saying. So like, how long do these end times really last?
Well, it's hard to say, but we do know, according to Scripture, a day to the Lord is 1,000 years. So it's been 2,000 years to humanity, but to God it's been 2 days. It says by the third day that he would rise, we would rise up again. So I would say in about 3,000 years. So anywhere between now and 1,000 years from now, it can be over.
So there's a good possibility we might not even be able to see the return of Jesus Christ.
That's possible, yeah, for sure. I'm not like saying, hey, a doomsday preacher, hey, look, get ready, nigga, it's happening tomorrow. Yeah. Nah, it could. And if I take a look at the prophetic timeline and what's going on in the world right now, it's looking pretty good for us, but things could change.
So what does that happen with you though, right? Because assuming we're not going to be there to when it happens, like where does that leave you? Because I'm sure we'd all be passed away by then. Like what happens to your spirit? Like,
well, we believe that everybody's spirit, everybody goes to a neutral place, goes to heaven, right? Pursuant to Ecclesiastes 12:7, when somebody dies, the flesh goes back into the ground and your spirit goes back to him who made it, which is God. When you get there, you get a judgment pronounced. That's 2 Ezra 14:35. And then you live your judgment out when he sends you back. So something that we believe in and that most of our ancestors believed in before getting, introduced to Christianity, Catholicism, is reincarnation, right? So the Bible is clear on it. And to prove it, like when John the Baptist came, the priest came and started asking him, who are you? We know you're somebody coming back. Which one are you? Then even when Jesus came, he asked his disciples, who do men say I am? Because that concept was there in the Bible that people are coming back. Great men are coming back. And when they're back again, they're going to be great men all over again. So we believe that if I was to die today, my spirit's going up. And if there's a long enough time on this earth before Christ come back, I'm going to come back.
Reincarnated. So on this reincarnation topic, I don't know if you're too familiar with Marvelous. We're about to get into what happened recently, but
I just heard about that.
Yeah, but he had actually said that he believes in reincarnation, and actually when you reincarnate, you have to pay off your quote unquote karma.
Exactly.
Correct. And he had said that sometimes when people are disabled or even gay, that it's because they did so much bad shit in their previous lifetime that they had to come back as that to pay off their karma. Do you subscribe to that?
Yeah, for sure. And we see that when Jesus heals a blind man, they say he was blind from birth. So his disciples asked, like, okay, well, why was he blind? Was it his sin or was it his parents' sin? Now, if he's blind from birth, of course, he didn't even have an opportunity to sin. He was already blind before he could. So that shows you that this could be from a past life. Or it could have been because of judgment on his parents also. But Jesus said in this instance, it's neither of those. It was simply to show my power that I have the ability to heal a blind person. But that just shows you that a disability could be because of that. But the Most High teaches us in the laws that doesn't matter. That's his business. If you see somebody with a disability, you cannot mistreat them.
Do you have any sympathy when you do come across, like, let's say a person in a wheelchair,
for sure,
or a gay person, or not at all, because you're more so the mindset, oh, well, they did some bad shit in their lifetime, fuck them? Or do you have sympathy?
A person with a disability, for sure, I have sympathy, because that's what God teaches us in the law, that we cannot mistreat people. Like it says, don't put a stumbling block before the blind, right? So that shows you if somebody has a disability, we are forbidden from ever mistreating them. Because if God put that judgment on them, that's from where he sits. He sits high. So he sees everything. He's looking at all of time, and he's doing to people what they're supposed to have done to them. But as far as we know, this is just another brother or sister, and they're in they're in a disabled state. So we don't have any business or right in mistreating them ever, or looking at them like, oh, you did something last lifetime. Nah, damn all that. This is the situation they're in right now, and this is when you're encountering them, and you're to treat them, as such, with the utmost respect and love.
So you do sympathize with people who are disabled, but
for sure,
you said you don't sympathize with the rainbows.
With the rainbow, I'm not sympathizing with the rainbow, but I'm not like, I also don't treat the rainbow like they're just like lepers or something like that. Like my little sister is a lesbian, right? So I love my little sister. When I go up there to the Bay, I'm gonna see her.
Keep it real. Do you feel like you were forced to love because one of your family members?
No, I don't. I think that from really learning from the scriptures, if the scriptures, the number one thing that is teaching us is, okay, we're the Israelites. I believe blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the Israelites. I have to love these people. I have to. I'm not allowed to do anything but love blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. So if I come across you, it doesn't say you only have to love those who are righteous or upstanding or you just got to love them. So even if you disagree with them, you still have to love them. And sometimes voicing a disagreement is an act of love. Like, hey, I don't think you should be doing this. I disagree with that. But also, it's not a situation where we beat them up. Like, my little sister knows how I feel about her lifestyle. I'm not, every time I talk to her, hey, stop munching carpet. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that. You know where I stand. I'm not going to beat you up with that. I don't got to keep reminding you of that. It is what it is. And I'm just going to move forward with love,
Let's go back to Marvelous, right?
Yes, sir.
Because it was recently revealed that he had actually impregnated at the time, but was a minor.
Okay.
And he claims that she was presented to him as she wanted to get a tattoo, and she gave him a fake ID, and then it kicked off from there, right? So he's saying he was under the impression she was of age, but he's getting a lot of backlash because about a year ago he had tried to expose American Cholo for being on paperwork, which was fake, of being with a minor.
Wow.
So people are getting on his ass because it's like, you were over here tripping on AC about this when it was fake, but you really did that.
Yeah, so that's why, and Marvelous is a follower of the Bible. Marvelous believes we the Israelites. You know, the scriptures speak about hypocrisy, throwing stones, essentially, if you live in a glass house. So you shouldn't even have barked up that tree knowing that could come back to you. You shouldn't. You should never do that, because even if you feel like you could explain the situation away, and then mind you, you're dealing with Southside politics. Good luck explaining that away, right? Period. I don't see too many people really buying that anyway. But even if you feel like you could explain it away, and oh man, that she had a fake ID, whatever, you should have never threw the rock at American Cholo. If you knew that could, you see what I'm saying? Like, you should never do that. You know.
Can people like that still be accepted in God's kingdom?
Yeah, but it depends, right? It depends on the situation and turning from it, right? Like, once you recognize, okay, I shouldn't have done this. Now, again, it's a nuanced situation. It's a difference between somebody who, he might have crept with a 17-year-old when he was in his early 20s, versus a nigga who's a full-fledged
grown adult,
full-grown 30, and he's touching like children, 12, you know what I mean, stuff like that. And I don't want to convolute it too much, but we all got to be reasonable and rational. There's a difference between, you know, somebody who's 19, 20, 21 and a girl who's 16, 17 versus somebody who's 30 and 40 and like a real little kid. We know there's a difference. I'm not saying either of them is good or should happen, but there is a difference. So if you were the nigga that was 21 and you was picking up the girl from high school, and now you 30 going, I shouldn't have did that. Okay, for sure, you good. But the nigga who's the sicko who's really preying on kids, ain't no place for him.
So would you say it's safe to say some form of pedophiles are accepted in God's kingdom if you did it with the intention, right? If you did it with the intention of, oh yeah, she's a minor, then nah.
Yeah.
That's out. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, if it's like
but
that.
If it's kind of like a slip up, like how you're saying.
Like a slip up, like what they would call hebephilia, where it's not like a pedo, like a child, but it's somebody who's further developed, closer to adulthood, and you also are not far from that. Because if you're 30 picking up the 16-year-old, nigga, there's no justifying you, bro. There's none. But if you're like 19 and, like, for example, if you're a senior and she's a freshman and y'all start dating, now you out of school, I mean, bro, you could go get a girl your age. You're fucking up, but you're not as bad as the nigga that's touching his niece, though.
Right. So how does Grla Hebrew feel about Marvelous? Are you giving him a pass, or is it all bad?
I can't give him a pass. I've heard about it. I've seen about this much about it. So I'm not going to all the way throw Marvelous out. I got to make diligent inquisition. But, hey, if he's guilty and he's playing, because what I'm worried about is that he's playing. And what I say playing is he's not being real with the details, and he's trying to do some cover-up shit. And it's like, if he's playing, we got to make an examination. You know what I'm saying? He got to go to court, essentially, you know, and a verdict got to be drawn. But I seen even before this, like, one of the older Matavillas was like pressing the issue with him on YouTube, like, oh, he not really, like, he not from the turf no more, whatever. So I don't know. It seemed like a lot of people are trying to politic on him. So I'm not going to necessarily join the quote unquote hate train, but we do got to get to the bottom of that for sure. For sure.
Marvelous has for sure been in the headlines these past 2 years. I found out about him because he had actually called out Lucky, because he subscribed to the same beliefs you do. He believes that if your father isn't of the Israelites...
Oh, because Lucky, his dad is German, right?
Jewish, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, from hood stocks, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you don't believe that Lucky is, quote unquote, one of the chosen people?
You know, I don't believe Lucky is an Israelite. No.
Do you have some type of... Because he is around a lot of our people, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel about, like, do you consider that a culture vulture at all?
No, because he still grew up in the culture. Like, even, so there's like viral clips of Israelites saying, oh, Bob Marley isn't black because his dad is white. What I would say is, well, Bob Marley is black, clearly, right? But he's not of the Israelite lineage. So people got to understand that we got these names blanketed upon us, and then we have what God, classifies us. So sometimes we convolute those things because they're not absolutely interchangeable. Like there are people that are considered black all over the world that we wouldn't say are Israelites. When we say black people are Israelites, we're talking about the people in the diaspora that came on slave ships and some of the people in West Africa. We're not talking about all people who are considered black at that point. You see what I'm saying? So when we do that, that means people could be considered Latino or considered Mexican, even when you understand how the Mexican government classifies what a Mexican is. It was anybody born in Mexico or who descends from people born in Mexico. So you don't necessarily have to be from that indigenous lineage to technically be considered Mexican. You see what I'm saying? So in that regard, I can't say he's a culture vulture. He clearly grew up in the culture. He's clearly from a barrio, all those various things. So I wouldn't call him a culture vulture, but when it's all said and done, he's not of that lineage.
Do you believe that people outside of the Hebrew Israelites can provide some type of good to the Israelites?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And
I'm asking because the president of Mexico is Jewish.
yeah,
The president of El Salvador is
Arabian.
right.
Yeah.
And a lot of people hold it, well, their people, their country, they hold them in high praise.
Yeah.
But they're not necessarily of their lineage.
Especially in over there in Central America, in El Salvador, what's going on right now. I know a lot of El Salvadorians are praising what he's doing to the gangs down there. And that's complicated because I know that, you got MS down there, you got 18 down there, and they're reaping havoc, right? But also, I'm taking a look at how inhumane they're being treated by this Arab dude, and I gotta have a problem with it. You know what I'm saying? They say he's like, you got a tattoo, nigga. We locking you up. We putting you in. Then I seen the prison. I said, damn, he got them living cold.
It's going hard
in that. No mattresses, nothing. You niggas just lay out. We got you in one big ass cell. Figure it out. That's crazy. So but I believe people outside of us can do good because when we look at it nationalistically, nations collaborate with each other for mutual good. So definitely people who aren't of our lineage can do us good for sure.
Speaking on the nations colliding, I know the president of El Salvador said he wanted to do some type of deal with Trump to where if you're an immigrant, they'll take you for a small fee that'll cover the housing and etc. Do you feel like that's a form of racism at all?
For sure. I have such a problem with what's going on with this immigration situation. I have a gigantic problem, and I have a problem with, me, of course, I come from immigrants, illegal immigrants at that. As far as on my father's side, my mother's side, they're immigrants too, because my mom and them is Irish. So they immigrated too, but, they did it quote unquote legally somehow. White people are all legal and we're all illegal.
Right.
Somehow it just worked out like that. I don't know. But so immigration is something that is near and dear to me, right? And in understanding that, what's going on with the immigration situation, and then like some black Americans are having like very ignorant statements being made about it, stances on it, and they're not even understanding. To me, you have audacity to even try to regulate immigration when all of this is stolen anyway. You stole people, you stole land. Who the hell gave you the authority to start dictating who's legal and who's illegal, who can come and who can't come?
Hold up, though. You do have people who say, nah, this land wasn't stolen, it was bought. How do you feel about that?
I think if we take a look at the fine print of the financial transaction, that's BS, right? It was swindled. At best, it was swindled. But even like when you deal with Texas, like Texas was an outright theft. I think you had 8 white boys and 2 Mexicans that said, we're declaring Texas its own country. And then later it joined America. So, nah. And what's crazy is this. So what doubled America in size was the Louisiana Purchase, and the catalyst of the Louisiana Purchase was the Haitian Revolution. We dealt French their ass. They said we're going to cut our losses in America. So they sold America like damn near half the country in the Louisiana Purchase. The rest of the country came from stealing it from Mexico. So between the conquest of the eastern part, then the south into the southwest through the Louisiana Purchase, and then stealing it from Mexico, like that's how America was gotten. So if we look at the key economic areas, California and Texas are the top of the economic GDP for this country. That's all stolen from Mexico. So you mean to tell me you can steal a land, steal those natural resources, and then exploit illegal immigrant labor in order to enrich this, and you still got a problem? This shit's crazy to me.
So with that being said, do you believe black people, natives, and Hispanics should get reparations?
For sure. I think that we are all entitled reparations, but I don't think that it's realistic that we'll ever receive them too. And I don't even think that it's even quantifiable what we are actually owed. Because like something I like to bring up is gynecology, right? All our girls go see the OBGYN, whether they pregnant or not. They're going to go to the OB. When you understand how the practice of OBGYN was founded, it was through experimentation on hundreds of slave women. He was experimenting. This doctor was just buying black slave girls and experimenting on their body to actually develop that practice. So if you take a look at the sacrifice of all those women in order for women everywhere to have, vaginal and reproductive health, how do you pay that back? How do you repay that sacrifice? You can't. Or Native Americans invented the syringe. Think about what's been administered and how useful this syringe has been in the area of medicine throughout the world. How do you pay people back for that contribution to the world? You can't really pay that back. So yeah, that's kind of my stance on reparations. But I believe all of us are emphatically entitled to reparations for sure.
And you believe that racism still goes on today?
1,000%.
Maybe not to a degree as far as like hanging people and stuff
exactly.
of that nature,
but it goes on in different ways, especially with the way we're incarcerated. We're incarcerated in such a rate as black and Hispanic people. Like it's like I remember the first time I went to jail, and you remember the movie American History X,
right?
And when boom, so he's doing the laundry with the white boy, and he looked at him. He's like, "Bro, in here, you're the nigger, bro. Like you have to understand that you are the extreme minority here. The rest of us, we actually hold weight in here versus you. And why is that? Because we're the main people in jail. When I went to jail for the first time, I go to the county jail in San Diego, South Bay, and Chula Vista. There was 3 woods in the module. That's it. The entire rest of the module is black and Mexican. That's it. There's nobody else in that module. So that puts things in perspective. And what's crazy is even when I had caught a case when I first moved to Atlanta. Bullshit case. Broke my baby mom phone, caught a case, right? So they sent me to a workshop, a domestic violence workshop over there, right? And we're in there, and Atlanta doesn't have nowhere near the population of Mexicans that California has, where I come from. So I'm in there, and I still see it's a bunch of black guys. The number 2 demographic in there is Mexicans, and there's like 2 white boys. And there's a white dude that is the instructor. And he asked the black guys in there, he goes, do you think black people commit more domestic violence than white people? And the black guys in there were like, yeah. And the white guy was like, no. But notice there's barely any white people in this whole room, right? So even a white boy in there was trying to point out there's clearly a disparity in prosecution legally on certain groups of people over other ones, right? So that's a key way that systemic racism observably exists. But even if we just take a look at the comments right now, if you go damn near anywhere on social media, the way Mexicans are being talked about freely by everybody else, including black American people, is insane.
Get into that. What do you mean?
I go on comments, go back to where you're from, fuck the Mexicans. I'm talking about I can't even look at comment boards because, again, from our perspective, we believe black, Hispanic, Native Americans, we believe all of this. I look at everybody in a totality, and I look at the individual tribes. That's what we refer to them. So we'll look at Mexicans as one tribe, Central Americans as one tribe, Haitians as one tribe. But I still look at the overarching, all of us collectively as one. So if you're offending any one of them group of people, I feel personally offended. I don't got to be Mexican to feel offended through derogatory things said to Mexicans or Central Americans or Jamaicans or black Americans even, because it also happens vice versa. But a level of hatred that is being allowed on social media towards Mexicans is like astronomical right now. And you see it, what your comments are, what people are saying. Ghost pages are coming on your thing. F you guys voted for Trump. I say deport all you, stop stealing the jobs, shit like that. It's crazy.
How do you feel about Israelites voting for Trump? Do you stand with Trump, or what are your thoughts on Trump?
I don't stand with Trump. I think Trump is an entertaining character, though.
Yeah.
What I like about Trump is he's entertaining. I can fuck with some of his policies, but also I don't see myself in alignment with any American politician. I just can't be, because I know what this country is about and what it stands on. At the end of the day, no matter what, it's going to stand on our exploitation. So I can never get in bed with an American politician. But I think he's entertaining. I like some of his conservative policies for sure. I think that he's going to do some things economically, or he's going to at least try, that are going to benefit economically the people that live in America. But especially when it comes to immigration, hell no. You call my country a shithole. You're sending Haitians back. You're sending Mexicans. You're sending Central Americans, Colombians. I can't get down with that.
What do you say to people who would say that him calling countries shitholes that you guys are taking it way overboard? Like, it's not that big of a deal.
Well,
because it's a third world country.
A third world country, or a developing country, as they like to say now. Here's what I would say to that. To understand why these countries are shitholes now, third world countries, is because of Western European intervention. These countries were not shitholes before you guys got on boats and started colonizing people. These countries were, y'all got to these countries and were in awe at what was had, the culture, the empire, the resources, the freedom of it. You guys ruined that. So now we're shitholes, and now you've kind of took everything and brought the center of everything to the United States. So this is now where we want to come if we want to enrich ourselves. Like in Haiti, like the number one contributor to the GDP of Haiti is Haitians in the diaspora sending money back to Haiti. So in America and Canada and France, that's what stimulates the Haitian economy, because of what they've done to the Haitian economy, how they've diminished our resources, how they've put a chokehold on our industry. The richest Haitian man is Jewish. There's like 1,000 Jewish people in the whole country of 10 million. And the richest person in all of Haiti is a Jewish man. That tells you something, right? So you don't get to call our country shitholes when you made our country shit. Our countries were never shitholes. Our countries were paradises, were oases. You turned them into shitholes through sticking your nose there, colonizing us, enslaving us, and raping our resources. So you never get the right to say, go back anywhere. Like some people are saying, oh, y'all got the Mexican flag, but you're mad they're sending you back to Mexico. Why aren't you so proud of your country? It's not about, I'm proud of my heritage, and I know what you did to my heritage, and I know what I'm trying to do to enrich my heritage. And you don't get to impose on that, or I don't feel like you should have a right to impose on that. So even that, because somebody asked me like, well, what would you say to that? If you're so proud of that country, well, I'm proud of my heritage, and I'm proud that we still exist after what you did to us, because if we did it to you, you wouldn't exist anymore. You wouldn't even exist. I heard some OGs from East Coast talk about during the riots, the Rodney King riots, 92, how the blacks in the South came together in the county jail. And they're like, all right, anything not black or Hispanic, when it comes in the dorm, we're on them. Period.
When was this?
This is 92 during the Rodney King riots.
Oh, okay.
They said, man, white boys was running up that barbed wire fence. They saw that crowd of blacks and Mexicans and said, bro, I'll take my chances with the barbed wire, bro. I'm not doing it. So that just shows you, if we turn the tables and said, all right, we're finna go colonize them, bro, they wouldn't make it. 500 years later, they just wouldn't exist anymore.
Do you agree with that? Do you feel like in the county jails they should be on that?
Yeah, but I don't think it's gonna happen. And I think that the reason why it's not gonna happen is because the organizations that govern us as black and Mexican, truly niggas could try to retroactively make them as righteous as they want to be, but they're not righteous organizations, right? They're about criminality. They're about us really doing our own people bad. So of a bad tree can no good fruit come. So I don't think that that's going to realistically happen. It's a pipe dream. I would love it.
But you would love to see it happen.
I would absolutely love it. During my time in the county jail, it was absolute peace with the South Side. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I know, hey, that's my nuanced experience. And there's other times where that's not the situation. But I understand that you know, and to me, that is my goal, eventually, to bring all of us together. But I also understand that all of us aren't in the mentality of that. You know, all of us aren't in the mentality. So, you know, we with the quote unquote coalition of the willing. Those of us who are like-minded, we going to get together and we going to do what we're supposed to do.
I hear you. Hey, so I want to stay on the topic of, because you had said people waving their flags and you saying that they should go back to the country, right? Mm-hmm. So it's been trending in the Hispanic community. A trending topic is people going to these riots and burning the American flag. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about people going out there and burning the American flag. Are you in favor of it, or do you disagree? Oh, you're in favor of it.
I'm in favor of it. Issue number one is your First Amendment right. You know, and that's the thing. If you're a true American, whether you dislike it or not, you have to support it because it is your First Amendment right. That's the beautiful thing about America. I can say anything negative about America, and I have the right to do it, right? So it's because certain people have tried to. Oh, if you guys don't like it so much, go back here. Well, hold on. According to this country, I can say whatever the hell I want to, whenever I want to. So allow me to do it. If I want to burn a flag, I can do it. And people have to understand that is an expression. If we feel like this country's been doing us bad, and we want to burn that flag in order to express the feeling that we have toward the country, we should have a right. Because instead of, would you rather us burn the flag, or would you rather us really start taking out our aggression in the way we really could? You know, so that's my thing. Burning the flag is really letting y'all off the hook.
How do you feel about people saying by doing that you're spreading hate?
I would say that what we've been subject to for the last 400 years is the ultimate definition of hate. So us just talking or us just demonstrating, it can never be spreading hate. We're the victims of hate here, and we just want what do they say? The liberty of the freedom and the pursuit of happiness. Can we just have the pursuit of happiness? Why do we got to keep getting stepped on in order for everybody else to be happy?
But people would say that that's how it starts, right? Because I hear that a lot on social media, because I stay on it. They be like, oh, well, it's going to turn from burning the flag into burning the whole city, right? And I recently had a rapper out of Southeast LA, Johnny C. He had recently said on this interview that he feels like it's going to get to a point where Raza is going to have to start kidnapping ICE agents. And bro is serious. He's not trolling. We're going to have to start kidnapping the ICE agents in an effort to send a message, quote unquote, to send a message to Trump. Do you feel like it's that serious, or that's a little bit taking it too far?
I'll say it like this. You know, he's a Southsider, the brother you talking about? Come on, man. You know what I'm saying? You got to be quiet about stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? If that's what time you going to get on, ain't no need to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Now, me, I wouldn't encourage nobody to do that. I want to encourage everybody to function within the law, right? Whatever the law of the land is. Not because the law of the land is righteous, but because we don't want this current authority to step on whatever we got going on. So in order for us to function and spread the awareness that we need to spread to wake our people up and to unify our people, to mobilize our people, we don't need to go out of our way to ask for anybody to come and get in the way of that. We have enough that we're fighting against. Number one, if we want to just use social media, we got to walk on our tippy toes, you know, and even to operate and spread awareness there.
Facts.
So function within whatever the parameters of the law is, just so you don't get your ass thrown in jail. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I would suggest to everybody. But if you want something else, hey man, just move smart, bro. You know, move smart.
You guys said earlier right now that burning the American flag, that's light. We could have went way harder. And you said that's nothing compared to the oppression that was bestowed upon us for the past hundreds of years, right? What do you say to people who would say, well, those are my ancestors, I got nothing to do with that? Why are you putting that blame on me?
Well, they don't understand science, right? Science tells you that PTSD is passed on from fathers to their offspring, right? So if our great-great-great-grandfather experienced that from their great-great-great-grandfather, we still subconsciously carry that in us.
Through DNA, that's what you're saying.
Through DNA. So how they established this and proved this, Oxford did this. They took rats, right? Because you know that's what they experiment on, a lot of rats. And they put them in a maze. And they put shock collars on rats. And at certain spots on the maze, they would shock them. Every time they got there, shock them. Then those rats had kids. And those kids, when they got to the same point in the maze, now mind you, they didn't have a shock collar on. When they got to the same point in that maze that their father was shocked on, they got scared. So that shows you that PTSD is transferred, again, from fathers to their offspring, right? So we still carry that with us. And it comes out in different ways, but we definitely still carry that with us. So as much as people try to disconnect time periods and, oh, that was ancestors, we still carrying that with us for sure.
Is there something in our DNA that you think our people still carry on to this day?
1000%. I think, like, for example, like me, something about a rope creeps me out a lot. Anytime I ever see a rope, I get goosebumps. Why? I've never had a negative experience with a rope. What about a rope creeps me out? You see what I'm saying? Now that makes me think maybe I seen somebody get hung or something like that back, or one of my ancestors.
That goes back to reincarnation.
You see, and that too.
Right.
So that's like the epigenetic, the scientific side of the reincarnation. Because of course it's spiritual, but there's still a natural and a scientific side to it as well.
So you're in favor, long story short, you are in favor of people going out and burning the American flag.
1000% for sure. If that's what you want to do, if you're a black or Mexican man and you just want to, hey, I want to give America the middle finger in any way, through expression, through either saying it or for sure, do it, man. Have at it. What did they do to you? How have they rewarded you?
Yeah. I want to go back to you saying that if your dad isn't of a Hebrew Israelite descent, then you can't be one of us, right? How about people who are black or Mexican? They look black and look Mexican, and because of their appearance, they still go through the same struggles as a black person or Mexican, and their father may be white or whatever.
I mean, that happens. There's Bible verses that allude to that, like the wheat and the tares and things like that. That there are going to be people among us who have a a lineage that's not of us, and some of it would be distinguishable and some of it would be indistinguishable, right? And Christ, when he taught on that, he's like, don't even worry about that. In the end, that'll get sorted out. That's not for us to worry about and dictate.
So this is, I'm gonna ask this, right? So about 2 weeks ago, it went super viral, right? I don't know if you're too familiar with a rapper out here in OC, Drex the Joint.
Yeah, Drex,
Drex, right?
For sure.
Pretty much, are you familiar with the situation? Well, for the viewers who don't know, pretty much he went on a live and someone around him, they dropped the M-bomb with a hard ER, right? Yeah. And people were getting on Drex because they were like, bro, like, yeah, I get your parents are Mexican, but like you look black, So, and they were saying that, they were pretty much saying like, bro, like you're confused. Like, yeah, you're Mexican, but you're black, bro. Like, you literally look black, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, how do you feel about that situation?
Well, this is how I feel about that. Like, number one, a lot of people don't understand the complexities of the history of Mexico. I believe he's from Grla. If you look into the history there, you have indigenous people. You do have some importation of slaves from Africa as well by the Spanish. So you have that there. But I also know people who are like completely indigenous. They look exactly like Drex as well, right? So he may or may not have quote unquote black ancestry, regardless of what our perception is. Because of course, perception is crazy sometimes. In America, we look at things like, okay, you see Drex, that's a black person. I know I grew up with people, went to school with people who was like him, look like him, but are totally Mexican. You see what I'm saying? So the complexity here is you have black people in America that we have our American perspective, not understanding that to him, it doesn't matter what he looks like, he's Mexican, right? That's who he is, that's what he is, that's his culture, that's what he identifies with, period, right? So there's an expectation there because of his perceived blackness, right? Now, on the other hand, to me, it's like, to hell with whatever people perceive him as. He's Mexican. That's what he is. That's what he identifies as. That's fine with me. Still that like, and a lot of these youngsters right now are reckless and don't realize the efforts that some of those older heads have made to try to clear up some of that racist ideology or lines that was pushed by certain barrios. There's a lot of that's going on. If we go just to the peace treaty with Florencia and East Coast, stuff like that is something that the veteranos have observed, looked at, identified, and are looking to change the perception of Southern Raza as a whole. So when you are not being mindful of that and you're representing something, you're writing something on the wall and you're putting a number after you write something on the wall, and that the people who are calling the shots for that are trying to steer you away from that, you deserve disciplinary action for that. because what you're doing is you are continuing a narrative that's being pushed on this very large group of people of Southern Mexicans that they're trying to get away from, right? So that was, to me, that's the bigger picture is Drex. He should have been checked for saying that, period, especially on live, knowing here you are trying to blow up as a rapper in a black-dominated industry.
Right.
You are silly as hell. He should have been immediately checked for that. And it's like, bro, why do you even feel that casual about just, like, what are y'all thinking about? That's how I looked at it. Like, what are you thinking about? And then two, because Drex said later, oh, he got DP'd over that or whatever. But now, homies from my hood, when there was a situation with a Ilotero being victimized during the Hoovers, and I've been affiliated with the Hoovers since I was a kid, in Washington before I even moved to California. So, that was handled to me in a perfect way, where you had the homie Jap 5 do a public DP, record it and propagate it, and then we did a collective black and brown event the homies did at Manchester Park, just to show the solidarity, the unity, and this is not going to be tolerated from none of our homies to victimize innocent Latinos. So I think that, if he got DP'd, we should have seen that he got DP'd.
And because a rapper out of OC, or Doso Official, he had actually,
I remember he had the podcast, Dope, right?
Yeah, but he had made a post on Instagram saying that, bro, like, if you're gonna diss online, the DP needs to be online, and he had referenced the same situation with the Hoovers and Jap 5. Do you feel like that's what's needed?
For sure.
In order to bounce back from what happened?
Yeah, in order to bounce back from what happened, examples got to be made, and we have to every side has to show, like, hey, this is intolerable, and we want to display this is how we're treating this behavior, and that's going to, number one, discourage people from partaking in that behavior, and that's going to show, like, a showing of good faith, like, hey, we're not allowing that. Like, even with the I heard guys from East Coast after the peace treaty came with Florencia and East Coast, and they're like, hey, we at the park with our kids, and you got OGs from Florencia coming, and they bought all the black kids and some candy or some ice cream in the park. Stuff like that is what you got to show, hey, it's good, it's dead, we're cool, we can move on without any issues or any tension anymore. You have to. It's the same way countries operate. You got to do a show of good faith to show, okay, the issue is dead.
Do you feel like if that doesn't happen, like, his rap career is done?
I think it's in jeopardy.
Because it's very serious. Like,
for sure,
people are on his ass, like, heavy.
And they're gonna keep being it. And he's young, but that's the thing too, is with him not being from an actual barrio, he doesn't have, where's his big homies to pull his coattail? Like, hey, you need to fix that, bro. You need older wisdom around you to give you that guidance, and he just is a tagger. You don't have that as a tagger. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's something too that he's missing. There is, like, thorough guidance from just an older guy.
He had recently did a stream with a popular a streamer, Oblivion, on Kick, and he's Mexican, right? And at one point in the live stream, Oblivion, he asked Drex if he could use the N-word, right? And Drex is all like, why are you asking me, my boy? Like, I'm not black, I'm Mexican. How do you feel about that? Like he's denouncing his blackness when he obviously looks black.
Yeah, I mean, he I don't know if, again, because like I said, I've seen indigenous people that look exactly like Drex, but then too, when I look at his brother, I'm like, okay, his brother, he definitely looks black. You know what I'm saying? Drex, he looks black, but also, like, if he was just a straight up Indian, I can see that. You see what I'm saying? Like a native, like a native Mexican, like no admixture type deal. I can see that as well. But to me, it's like, even if you don't identify, and this be a thing too, like, I see it on the other side too of Mexicans that's in black gangs. You don't need to denounce who you are just because this is who you run with. You're still who you are, bro. Take full ownership of who you are. Like, I got little homies that's Mexican. I don't tell them you're black now because you from here now. You see what I'm saying? You're still very much a Mexican.
No, but with his case is he clearly looks black.
He clearly looks black, and he's from Mexico, and all that's fine. But just to say is, why are you asking me? I'm not black. So, okay, so to quantify, what are you? Have you took a DNA test? Are you familiar with your family's ancestral history? Because, like I said, if he's from Guerrero, there's clear history of black slaves being brought into the ghetto. You mean to tell me you don't have any genetic relation to those people? You know? And then also there's a convolution there because black is a race and Mexican is an ethnicity, and technically you could be any race and be Mexican, right? So then there's the confusion there. So I think some of us need to really like be sat down and gone through a class on this shit to understand you might sound, and even if you think you're right, nigga, to the world, you look dumb as hell. Because you sitting there looking black as hell, telling people like a Dominican, I know black.
Yeah.
Everybody looking at you like, well, motherfucker, I can't tell. So he's got to really be more sensible about the shit that he says and that he does. Just in his position, he was catching a lot of heat. Like he was heating up. People were looking at him. You're black. You're Mexican. Okay, cool. We like you, but now you're doing this shit and you're confusing people, and you make him be confused your goddamn self. You know, so I think a brother like him need to be sat down and really talked to, and really like his mind need to be recalibrated by somebody older with some wisdom.
And going back to what you said about the ancestry, right? There's a comment. I mean, there's a conspiracy going online talking about how those ancestry tests are just used to collect your data. Like, do you put any trust in those type of tests, those ancestry tests?
I don't put all trust in them. I think we can't put all trust in them because we have to look at the agenda and who's in control of it. It's the same people who's in control of everything else. So we got to watch that. But I do think that there is some merit and some things that we can learn from them. The same way I think that we need to look at our own like genealogical records. If we take a look, because I've done ancestry tests with multiple companies, and I've also done genealogy. So to me, if I got the written records of my family, and then I got the DNA test, and I could cross-reference those things, okay, cool. And they all line up. Okay, I can trust it to that point. Now, trust it 100,000 years ago and your DNA back to 4. Hell nah. You can't convince me that there's any test that a little bit of my spit can tell me about 20,000 years ago. Hell no. But as far as I can verify it, for sure, I can look at it now. If it veers off, because they'll let you know that there is margin of error even in their data. And then when you submit your stuff, all of a sudden, if you wait long enough, nigga, your numbers will change. You look at it like, hold on, wait a minute. I just was 20% this. Now it's only 17% and it went up. So that happens too. It fluctuates because they're getting new information. So you definitely can't put all your eggs in that basket, but it can be insightful. It can be insightful. But I think even the genealogical records are even more insightful than those are as well.
So I want to get into how I stumbled across your content, right? So I was on YouTube. I forgot how I think it was on the Explorer, on the recommended. But at the time you were in San Diego, I think it was a camp called Sakari, if I'm not mistaken. And one of the videos that really grabbed my attention was, I'm not sure if it was you, but you were in the video, and pretty much you guys had a white man like get on his knees and kiss you guys' feet. Okay. And I was tripping out, and I was like, bro, like ain't no way this white guy's literally like getting on his knees, kissing feet. Like, what do you say to people who say that's way too extreme? Like, that's like damn near like bullying.
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel about that?
You know, kind of recently, you know.
And what makes you want to do that?
It's not something that I even have done that much. Years ago, we was a little younger. We was kind of a little wilder, and it was definitely a little bit more prone to that.
Is that in the scripture, or you guys just kind of?
Well, there's a scripture that says inevitably that all our oppressors are going to bow to us, right? It's not really referencing that particular situation where we're telling people, but essentially how we typically frame it is, hey, listen, if you're truly sorry for the deeds of your forefathers, this would be an adequate gesture to us that would allow us to believe that you're sorry.
Before you go any further, do you respect that at all, or do you kind of frown upon that? Like, no way he got on his knees, or do you respect it that, yeah, he got on his knees, that's right?
Man, I think it's a case-by-case situation because some people, like, I've seen it happen and I've kind of like looked at them sideways, like, because you never know what people are into. And that, like, I remember it was a white girl who did it. This white lady, she was kind of like a little older, maybe in her like late 30s, 40s. And she did it. And I kind of had the impression, like, I think she might have been into that, actually. I think, and that's like So that just, and again, this was something that was like done like sensationally, and then a lot of us who came in younger, you know, we kind of got caught up on the hype train of it, into the sensationalism in it. So, you know, we was doing it too. It's not so much a practice that we are doing now, but can I say I respect it? You know, probably not. To me, I think you're dumb as hell. Why would you do that?
Yo.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you wouldn't be able to convince me to do it. I don't care,
That's
right?
crazy. Yeah.
I wouldn't even sit here. If I was one of them, I wouldn't even talk to us at all. I'd have just kept it going. Oh, I'm the devil, or I did something bad to y'all. So what, nigga? Bye. I'd have just went and enjoyed my damn day. So I can't say I necessarily respect it. I can't say that it has made for some really viral moments, though.
Has a situation when you were out there in the street ever gone left?
For sure.
Can you give us a time some shit really went bad?
Yeah, somebody tried to kill me. I got a clip.
Shit.
I got the clip emptied on me. So let me get that story. And guess what it was over?
Was this the Seattle one?
It's Seattle.
I think I seen a clip.
It's Seattle.
Okay.
And it was over Mexicans.
Explain. What do you mean?
So I'm gonna explain. So what happened was, we got my brother up there, Mexican brother Mabakar. He's from Long Beach, but he's up there in Seattle now. He's passing out flyers. A brother come by, black brother, him, his wife, his daughter, and he tries to give him a flyer. And the brother look at him and say, "Man, can't no Mexican tell me where I came from?" And walk up the street. Bro just laugh it off like ain't no big deal. He doubles back. When he doubles back, he's kind of now being aggressive towards the Mexican brother. So another brother step in like, "Bro, like, what's your deal? What's the problem?" And he's kind of like bugging out. Right? So now I'm looking and I step in and I'm like, "Hold on, bro, like, you know, he's trying to like come with this, you know, the new doctrine." Yeah, so you know, there's a belief now that's being postulated that black people are the real Indians, right? And it's due to cherry picking imagery. Certainly there are depictions of dark skinned natives amongst the Aztecs, the Mayans, the Native Americans, for sure. Yep. But also there's brown, light. We've always ranged from dark to light. We've always had a diversity in skin color, in phenotype, in hair texture. That's always existed. You thinking anything outside of that is just a demonstration of your ignorance, right? So he was kind of on that, where he was like, "Oh, he ain't no real Mexican. The real Mexican was black and I." So yeah, so he's on that, and I'm like trying to rationalize this play to him. I'm like, "Bro, like if we look at the Aztec depictions, it's clear you have people of different skin colors amongst that native population. For you to try to monopolize it to black because you saw dark skin depictions, it's just ignorant." I'm trying to like reason with the guy. Dude is substantially shorter than me, older but shorter, and at this point, like, his body is pressed against mine and his finger is on my nose. And then I have a moment of, man, fuck this dude, push him. So when I push him, he hits the ground. He tell his girl go in the bag. She passed him the joint.
Oh shit.
He pointed at me. Mind you, this is broad day downtown Seattle. It's all kind of white people rocking around his cameras. In my mind, now I've been shot before when I was young. And I think that played a part in this situation because I wasn't nervous. But in my mind also, he's not this stupid. He can't be this dumb.
In broad daylight.
In broad daylight to shoot me.
Right.
He let the first shot off, and I said, "Oh, then he gets this stupid." So I gets up out of there. Boom, I hit the corner. I end up falling hard. But I'm thinking I'm hit, and I just don't feel it yet. Like I'm hitting the spine, and I fell out type deal. And I'm on the ground. I'm like, "Oh, I'm cool." Like, all right, cool. I get up. I hit the corner. So he empties the clip on me, right? And he had like 6 shots. He empties it on me, and after the clip is out, bros beat his ass, ripped his beard out his face, all kind of stuff. So I'm hitting the corner and I'm cursing everybody else out like, why nobody had a gun up here? You know what I'm saying? So that was like a whole thing. But yeah, so that was a time where it went left, where literally because this guy had that hatred for Mexicans so much in him that it turned into the physicality, and then he literally tried to kill me.
Fuck.
Yeah, bro.
And if I'm not mistaken, you had went on video and said that when this instance happened, I guess an individual by the name of Deacon, he had left.
Yeah, he did. We don't know where he was. He vanished for sure.
This is a trip because when I had found out about you, y'all were together in the safari camp in San Diego.
Yes, sir.
It just seemed like y'all were like super locked in.
I mean, we you know, that's my, you know, that's that's my guy, man, for years, you know. That's my shadow. You know what I'm saying? Wherever we was, you know. But in that situation, he was like a vapor. We don't know where he was.
How are things with you and Deacon these days?
I mean, you know, it's just neutral. I'll say it's neutral. He's doing his thing. You know, I'm definitely doing mine. So, you know, we just kind of leave it there.
Yeah.
You know, for sure.
I respect it.
Yes, sir.
So let's go back to Rewind, right? How I found out about you in Dago, right? You're in Dago doing work. Mm-hmm. At one point in time, do you leave out of California? And why?
I leave in 2018. And the reason I leave, frankly, is cost of living. Like it's, you know, California is expensive, especially Dago. Like Dago's one of the most expensive areas.
Yeah, fact.
So I'm like, if I move down south, I'll have more bang for my buck. So the first place I land in 2018 is Dallas, Texas. I lived there for a year, and then in 2019 I moved to Atlanta.
Oh, okay. And how are things for you in Atlanta?
Beautiful. Absolutely love it. I wouldn't live no place else but Atlanta, man.
Because
it's like the opportunity that exists there, the accessibility that we have there, the amount of like just, you know, black people pretty much run everything in Atlanta. In the, like the majority of the main part of the city. Now, once you start venturing outside, you know, it turns very southern and very white again, you know. But as far as in that central Atlanta, you know, it's black people everywhere having their way, owning large homes, doing their thing. And it's like like the world is small, whereas, you know, you're running into I can run into anybody on any given night, anywhere, any, you know, big name, etc., and be able to establish a relationship and things like that very easily. The type of women that are just abundant, things like that. Those are like the selling points for me. Like, and then even, you know, like my kids, they go to school. Everybody at their school is black and Mexican. Everybody, you know, because I was living in East Point. Their school in East Point was probably like 70% black, 30% Mexican. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, I like, you know, them just being able to come up like that and just around our people and not have too much, you know, because I went to white schools at different parts of my life, you know, and I'll say that those are like the worst experiences for me, just based off of the type of racism and stuff like that I experienced. So a lot of people think, oh, send your kids to white schools. They're better. They're in better areas. They have better opportunity. But to me, from being a kid that spent a couple years there, I know that's not the case. So to me, I value my kids coming up around my people.
What forms of racism did you experience going to these white schools?
I mean, overt racism and just straight up racial slurs, things like that. Systemic in that faculty would administer harsher disciplinary actions on me than others. Like if I was in a situation with another kid, like a fight, like I had a fight with a kid in sixth grade. My parents had a bright idea to move to Newport Beach, right? Is we moved from Washington, boom, we in LA, and then we're in Orange County, right? And we get to Orange County, and I'm in Newport Beach, and it's like, it's mind blowing to me, right? Because this is like some total, like these kids surfing, like I don't know what the hell is going on, right? But you know, I'm a kid going to school, trying to make friends, do my thing. So I start having this conflict with this one kid, this white boy, you know, he's talking shit. And, you know, we from the streets. So if a kid's talking shit, like, I want to fight you. Like, that's how we handle business. But I know that there's rules at the school, like, oh, once you go home, you're no longer under the school's jurisdiction, right? Once you get home. So if a fight happens after you have reported to your house, you're good to go. You're not going to face consequences and repercussion from the school. So I wait outside this motherfucking house one day, right? He pulled up on his bike. I put him to bed. His mother proceeded to try to run me over with a car.
Oh, shit.
She tried to run me down. And this was like one of the coldest experiences of my life. I'm 12 years old. And this white lady jumps out the car and starts screaming, help, while she's attacking me. And this is like later on, I read about stuff and hear about like they'll do that where like the white girl who went viral recently, oh, he grabbed my ass. And she was saying all that. I'm glad Trump is deporting y'all. That girl, Scott Storch's baby mom.
Oh, that's right.
With the valet.
Which ended up being just cap.
And she straight up admitted, I lied, he never groped me.
Yeah.
So, you know, but this was my first
Emmett Till situation.
Exactly, like the Emmett Till situation.
Yeah.
So this is my first experience of like actually going through this, where she's bouncing out a car and literally attacking a 12-year-old kid while screaming help. And because she's screaming help as a white lady, she automatically looks like I'm the aggressor. I'm trying to escape. So I get away. I get to my boy house. The police apparently is after me. I call my pops. My pops come and get me or whatever. And boom, my pop get me, boom, take me home. And then the police come to my house. And they come in my house, and this cop, this big old white boy, he's leaning over me, finger in my face, cursing me out. And my pop's like, hey, get the fuck out of my house. Puts him out. So at that point, I know, okay, there's clearly nothing you can arrest me for, because how did my dad just able to tell you, get the fuck out of my house, you ain't take me away in cuffs? And then what ends up happening, the next morning, we go to school. The principal's got me, my dad, this kid, his parents. And, they give him 1 day of punishment. They punish me for the rest of the school year. Mind you, what the straw that broke the camel's back to me for me going to his house and knocking him out was him telling me that his father can buy my father. So that's the whole reason I said, okay, he's finna get it. I'm handling this how we used to handle this, right? But they literally suspended him. They didn't even suspend him. They revoked our lunch privileges for the rest of the year, me, but him only 1 day. So that was a systemic example where here it is. We did the same. These are two kids who had a fight. Nothing. It's really not a big deal. Nobody went to the hospital. His ass went on the floor, went to sleep for a minute. He woke back up. He was fine. But I literally get my privileges of eating lunch and kicking it with my friends taken from me for the rest of the school year, which was months. And he only did for 1 day. So that was an example of the systemic aspect there versus just that. Now the kids used to do weak ass shit like go write my name is a nigger on the wall. They'll do stuff like that. I don't know who wrote that. Then there would be the ones who had the nuts would say it, and then I deal with them. And then there was the systemic aspect there.
Going back to about the white woman who was trying to run you over and then crying wolf, do you feel like that's a form of white privilege?
For sure. Because they are automatically assumed to be the innocent person in the situation.
A lot of white people would say white privilege doesn't exist. What do you got to say to that?
That's crazy. I'm going to tell you what's crazy. You know Tommy G. Tommy G went to the poorest county in America in Kentucky, all white people. And he asked those white people if they believe white privilege exists. You know what they said? These are the poorest people in the country. They said they know, as poor as they are, they still have privilege over black and brown people because they know that they can get away with things. They're not going to get profiled and even if they're poor, they know that they can get away with stuff because they're not going to be presumed to be criminals because they're white.
Staying on Tommy G, he had recently did a documentary about 2-3 months ago, more or less, where he covered the Hebrew Israelites. Yeah. And he pretty much labeled them a hate group. How do you feel about that when people try to label you guys a hate group?
I absolutely can't stand it because if hate was a principal thing that we stood on, it would make sense. You don't have to hate anybody to be an Israelite, to be in my organization or any of these organizations. You have to love black and Hispanic people. That's our requirement. Love God, love his son, and love black and Hispanic people. That's our that's what we're really about. And people like to take the sensationalized clips and this happened there. But really, we're a love group. My goal and what I want to achieve on this planet is world peace. And I believe that can only be realized under who the world calls Jesus Christ. That's what I believe. But hate... And who initially classified us as a hate group was the Southern Poverty Law Center, right? SPLC. The SPLC had members participate in domestic terrorist activity in Atlanta. If anything, that's a hate group. We were out exercising our First Amendment right in Atlanta, Georgia, a couple years back. This is during the Cop City protest. They literally did a domestic terrorist act a block away from us in protest of a new police training facility being built in Atlanta. And the SPLC, certain of their lawyers were a part of that, right? And they've been criminally charged because of that. So for y'all to sit around and point the finger and call people hate groups, but you're literally got members of your organization who are participating in violence against the United States of America, and all we do is exercise our First Amendment. To me, that's crazy. That's like Trump deporting people. It's crazy.
Can white people be saved at all?
No.
No, there's nothing they could do. They're absolutely doomed.
There's nothing they can do, because what salvation is, it says that Christ was coming to save his people from their enemies.
Which are his people, the Hebrew Israelites.
The Israelites.
Right.
So-called today Black, Hispanic, Native Indian people. So if we have to be saved from our enemies can't be saved with us. You see what I'm saying? We got to be saved from them. How do they get on the boat with us if we got to get away from them? You see what I'm saying? So no. Yeah, I don't believe they can be saved, no.
What's your stance on what's going on right now in Israel and Palestine?
I think that there are war crimes that are being committed against the Palestinian people by the Israelis. I think it's crazy how innocent people, because even though I don't look at Palestinians like there are people or they're chosen people, I still have, as a human being, empathy to know that if innocent children are being killed, I can't stand for that.
So you still have sympathy even though they're not of your people?
For sure.
Okay.
I have sympathy, especially when we deal with crimes against children. I have sympathy for children of any race or ethnicity, because children don't deserve that. Children cannot defend themselves. What did those children do in order to deserve that? So if you're telling me you're sending a missile at a hospital where kids are because allegedly Hamas is in the bottom of that hospital, I can't stand behind that activity. And of course, they do many wicked things over there in that region. They partake in a lot of evil, genocide, and things like that. So we definitely can't stand for that.
How do you feel about Jews in general? Because I know you guys call yourself the real Jews, right?
Yes, sir.
And you guys call them the fake Jews.
Exactly.
So how do you feel about the fake Jews?
I would say that they're, of course, not authentically descendants of the ancient Israelites. I debated Dr. Michael Brown, who's a PhD scholar who's Jewish and a Christian. He's one of the top theological scholars on the planet, and we debated about this. And I would suggest anybody who's watching this definitely check out that debate just to get it informative. And I really go into the historic aspects of proving Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans are the Israelites, because that's what he was challenging me on. He was challenging me on our validity, and I was challenging him on his validity, specifically of the Ashkenazi Jewish lineage. Very interesting and informative debate. But that's what I would say. Now, does the average one of them understand that there was this identity theft that occurred? Maybe not necessarily, but they're going to have to start being honest about who the original Israelites are. And to their defense, some of them are. Some of them won't put up a fight and will admit, no, y'all are the real Jews. We came later. We converted. We adapted this. So a lot of them, their point of contention is they don't want to be ostracized or alienated from the identity, but they don't have a problem with conceding to the fact that we are the original.
So I didn't know that you actually sympathize with people who are not Hebrew Israelites, right? But you say you are.
For sure.
So do you sympathize with the victims of the Holocaust? That corner Jew right there?
Here's why I do.
Oh, you do?
Here's why I can, right? Now, do I believe that there's inflation of numbers and statistics in the Holocaust? For sure.
Oh, you believe in that?
I believe that. But what I also understand is Adolf Hitler, right? From living in Orange County, I don't really had issues with neo-Nazis, right? Really fought them, encountered them, experienced racism, etc. So because of that, I can't stand behind the Nazis. You see what I'm saying? And I know the Nazis, even though their primary object of hatred was Jewish people, they damn sure ain't like no niggas or no spics though.
They hated, a lot of people.
They hated us too. So I can't get behind that. Are there theories about that I subscribe to, that all of that was essentially a stunt to garner world sympathy for these people, which would then allow the Balfour Declaration and the taking of the land of Israel? For sure, though. For sure. I believe that.
So how do you feel about Kanye doing a Super Bowl ad telling everybody to go on his website, and when you go on the website, it's an actual shirt of the swastika.
The swastika.
Pretty much supporting Hitler. I mean,
yeah, I think that Kanye is trying to push the envelope and piss them off. But
For
to
money?
me, for I don't even know if it's for money because he's only selling the t-shirts for $20. So how much is he really making, right? I think he's doing his own unique form of a protest. But to me, like I said, because I've really clashed with neo-Nazis, I can't get behind the swastika. I can't get behind Nazis. I can't get behind Hitler. I can't do it. I know what that's about. I know the deep ingrained hatred that those people had towards us. I know it. So I can never get behind any Nazism.
Is there any respect for white people at all?
Yeah, I mean, you should respect everybody initially. I believe in that. I treat everybody with respect. I don't believe people got to earn respect. I encounter somebody, I try to treat them respectfully until they do something that causes me to lose it. So I be respecting any man, woman, or child I encounter just on initial interaction until they do something disrespectful, and then all bets are off.
Oh, okay. Because from the outside looking in, a lot of people would say, nah, the Israelites, they just hate white people and, they're pushing violence, But you're saying, nah, it's not even like that.
Yeah, definitely not. And even the Jewish guys that I had a debate with, Dr. Michael Brown, after that debate, we cool. We got each other's phone number. We talk about different things. We go over different scholastic articles and things like that. I don't have no problem being cool with a white boy. I don't have no problem.
Oh, so this white boy thing is interesting, right? Because I had seen on TikTok about a month ago, it was a content creator out of Chicago. He's of white descent, and he pretty much said that calling somebody a white boy is a form of racism. Because you're putting the boy after it.
You're putting the boy after it, and it's you can try to make that. See, white people, you guys don't get to say that, right? And the reason why you don't get to say that is because you guys that did so much bullshit. You got to just take certain shit. If we just got to say, hey, you're a white boy, you don't get to say nigga, you just have to accept that. Because look at all the shit you guys have done. Let us just get a couple of victories over you. You're a white boy. You know what I mean? Yeah. And what's crazy is, here in California, if you in the judicial the correction system, they don't have no problem calling themselves white boy. And those are white pride motherfuckers. You see what I'm saying? So if they don't feel like it's racist, they call each other white boy, and they don't care if you call them white boy, wood, or anything like that. What's the problem? I don't see that.
But when you say that though, a lot of them be like, nah, bro, what the fuck? Don't be holding me accountable for what my ancestors did. That's not right, bro.
Hey man, we all, whether we like it or not, we all are going to be identified with our ancestors, man. We don't get to disconnect from the good parts and connect to the bad parts. Yeah. Or disconnect from the bad parts and connect to the good parts. You got to take it all, man. So people got to stop trying to erase history or rewrite history. Oh well, I ain't we didn't encounter certain white people, and we'll blanket, and they'll be like, well, I don't agree with that. Well, bro, it doesn't matter whether you agree with it or not. It's historical fact. This is just what it is. So I mean, white boy, they got to get over it. They got to get over it. Everybody say nigga now, and nigga, white boy, who cares, bro? There's you've been called worse by better, man. You know what I'm saying?
Oh fuck. Damn, I had did an interview with Marvelous. This was before the fucking pedo shit. And bro pretty much went in on the Jesus Christ figure. He said that Caesar Borgia, an individual by the name of Caesar Borgia, who he said was a homosexual, this, that, and the third. Yeah. Do the Hebrew Israelites subscribe to that?
Yeah. So when you do the history, during the Renaissance, when that portrait was painted and propagated throughout the world, what was happening, you had artists like Leonardo da Vinci, and what they would do was they would use people to pose for portraits of historical figures. So that was very common in the Renaissance. So Caesar Borgia was actually the Pope's son, Alexander VI. It was his son. And he posed for that portrait, and then that was taken and propagated throughout the earth. And when you read about the Borgias, and especially him, he was one of the worst type of pieces of shit you could ever imagine.
What do you mean?
As far as homosexuality, pedophilia,
he was actually
incest,
a homo.
He was into all forms of sexual debauchery, and he was murderous and all those various things. So, he was a companion not only of Leonardo da Vinci, but of Machiavelli, right? So, when Pac got the Machiavelli album, when he's on the cross, Machiavelli wrote a book called The Prince about Caesar Borgia. You see what I'm saying? Who posed for Christ. So I think that Pac was playing off of, after he got information about that, the false image of Christ. I think he played off of that, which was like inspiration for the album art for the Machiavelli album. But Caesar Borgia, definitely very wicked and evil person, and it don't even take too much research to find out. Yeah, this is the guy who posed for Jesus Christ that we all know, have learned to love, got pictures of him in our house, got tattoos of him, etc.
Do you think our people, blacks, Hispanics, natives, will ever get to a point where they stop following Christianity and Catholicism and start following Hebrew Israelites? Or do you feel like they just been indoctrinated for so long that it's just?
I think what's going to happen eventually is there's going to be a portion of us that do. It's never going to be the majority. But when that portion of us do come on the right accord with the Most High, that there's going to trigger events in this world that's going to lead to salvation. And when that salvation occurs, we're going to represent the totality of our people, those of us who repented. So at that point and from that point forward, it is going to be all of us. But until then, it's only going to be a portion of us that really get on point.
Will the blacks, Hispanics, and natives who don't follow the ways of the Hebrew Israelite, when Yeshua comes back, will they be saved at all because of who they are, or not at all?
No, they won't be saved at all. So those of us who are still conformed to, the ways of the oppressor or the ways of America or whatever like that, when that judgment comes on this place, they're going to fall with that judgment.
So what happens, because earlier you had brought up reincarnation, right? Let's say you come back reincarnated. Like, is there a possibility you don't follow the ways of an Israelite? And then what happens there? Because in your past life you were, but now you ain't.
Well, in that case, the scriptures say that everybody stays in their lot, right? So if you're made to be the righteous, you're always going to be the righteous. Now, also you got to endure to the end. So like right now, I'm living my life right. I can fall off tomorrow. If I fall off tomorrow, it's like me undoing any of the good that I did. So then that would disqualify me. You see what I'm saying? So it just kind of depends on the specific individuals that the Most High God have chosen to be a part of that elite group of the elite. Like, we're the chosen people, but there's like a chosen of the chosen. And that's like, what we're trying to become now through living according to the word and teaching our people to do the same.
What do you think is needed right now the most in black, Hispanic, and native communities right now?
Love. Love of ourselves and love of each other. I think that's what's going to answer all the problems, and that's what Jesus said. He said, the two greatest commandments is love God, with all your heart, mind, and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. I think that is the fundamental problem with us, is we don't love ourselves. We don't love God, ourselves, and each other. That's it.
There's a popular saying in Mexican communities that a Mexican's worst enemy is another Mexican, right? And in the black community, I hear that often too, that like the blacks, they always try to, it's like a crab in the bucket mentality, right?
Yep.
Do you subscribe to that theory at all?
1000%. If we just take a look at it, we here in South Central LA, man, SA is the number one killer of SAs. Crips is the number one killer of Crips. That tell you what it is right there. We killing each other, we tearing each other down, we backbiting each other. It's us. It's always we are the ones that tear ourselves down. So that's why love is the answer. And how love is defined scripturally with the law, statute, commandments, with the rules that the Most High set out, it's literally just an explanation of what love looks like. And Christ simplified it with like doing to others. You wouldn't want somebody to steal from you, so you don't steal from other people. That goes to the law, thou shalt not steal. You wouldn't want somebody to sleep with your woman, don't sleep with other people's women. That goes into thou shalt not commit adultery. So when you see that the words love or do unto others, those are simplifications of all of the rules that God laid out of, hey, don't do this to other people, to your brother especially, and it won't happen to you, and everybody will be able to focus and live harmoniously. But because we don't have those rules and regulations established, we're not living according to that, we're destroyed right now. And all we're doing is truthfully hating ourselves, hating each other.
Shit, this is a trip, because right now you're spreading love, bro. You're saying our people need love, but it kind of seems like on the internet, it's a lot of propaganda saying that you guys are a lot about hate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you're out here spreading love.
Yeah.
You feel like you misunderstood?
Yeah, for sure. I think people, kind of sensationalize like a lot of the more radical video clips, because, there is definitely radical, revolutionary ideology that we have for sure.
And those are for sure the clips that go viral.
Those are the clips that go viral.
Yeah.
But when we just showing love, people don't want to see that.
People don't care about that.
They don't care about the positivity. So that's why it's so necessary, like for interviews like this to exist, so people can truly understand, like, nah, what we're about, number one, is loving our people. Like, that's the number one thing to me, period. And from a child, like from when I was young, if I saw something like on the TV of a tragedy striking, black people or in Haiti or in Latin America, from when I was a kid, I felt that in my soul, like sad about it. I didn't necessarily feel like that about everybody else, but for some reason, like this particular group of people, I always had an inclination towards. So then I get introduced to this information, like, well, this is all the Israelites and boom, boom, boom. And even like my pops instilled it in me, like, really, blacks, Latinos, we're really all the same. He would always tell me. So I believed that, but I didn't. Once I found this information, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So to me, that's my whole driving force is loving us. That's it. It's not about, it's definitely like, especially I got this advantage now living in Atlanta. I'm not even dealing with white people like that, like to where I have to have any hostility or any negative engagements. I'm literally only dealing with our people. So because of that, we're able to spread love. And sometimes we have debates, but even in a debate, it's still ultimately about love. We're trying to get people to see what the scriptures are actually saying. We're not trying to tear them down or tell them, oh, you're going to hell, because people have this idea that we're telling people they're going to hell, which we don't, but love. That's what this whole movement is about. Love. That's it.
I got a question, because our people, the Mayans and Aztecs, before they were conquered, right? They would practice astrology, right? How do you feel about astrology and numerology? Does that hold weight to you at all or no?
I think astrology is wrong. But what I know is that what the scriptures say about the tribes of Issachar and Zebulun having an ability in understanding the celestial body's movements, right? It says that the tribe of Issachar and Zebulun had understanding of the times. So the Aztecs and the Mayans are supposed to have an understanding of what's going on with the sun, moon, and stars, and be able to look at those things and be able to get messages from that. I wouldn't necessarily call that astrology, like a zodiac sign. I would call that more so astronomy and the study of those things, and understanding that you guys have a gift from God and the ability to read the sun, moon, and stars. So I would say that they was on point for that, and that's why their calendrical system has proven the test of time.
So even though that holds weight, and you had said earlier how a Santeria holds weight, why do you refrain from practicing that if you know that actually can come to fruition?
Well, I don't have a problem with observance of the celestial movements, right? The astrological or astronomical movements. I don't have a problem with that, because even like our whole calendar, I gotta create a calendar every year for our high holy days and things like that. I have to look at the astronomical movements for that. So I wouldn't say I necessarily stay away from that like I do Santeria. Definitely not. But I don't in the same token, I don't believe because they say I'm a Scorpio that my personality is explained. But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. That
I stay away from. But as far as what the actual movements are telling us, I don't have a problem with that at all. You see what I'm saying? Especially for the descendants of the Mayans and Aztecs, because the scriptures tell us these people were going to have that ability.
Have I asked you if white people can be saved?
Yes, you did. You did.
And they can't.
They cannot.
So they're doomed.
They're doomed. They're doomed for sure. Doom and gloom.
When you say doomed, what exactly is doomed?
Okay, so when I say doomed, I don't believe in eternal conscious torment in hell, right? So people understand. We don't subscribe to that idea of the afterlife.
So you don't subscribe to there being a heaven or a hell?
Yeah, so what heaven is, I just did a video on this. It's funny. So the Bible describes 4 heavens, right? You have the sky, you have where the stars are, you have where God lives, right? Which is like another realm. And then you have the kingdom of heaven, which is Christ's kingdom, which is on earth.
Which is the high, okay.
Which is on earth, right? So Christ's kingdom is on earth because it said he made us kings and priests that we may reign on earth, right? So the kingdom of heaven is what we are telling people is approaching, which is still here on earth, which is just a kingdom that Christ rules over and the Israelites rule over and everyone else is subject to. So similar to now how the white man is like the principal people on the earth, the richest and most powerful people on the earth. There's other people on the earth and they're doing their thing or whatever, but white people are clearly the number one people on the earth as far as power, economics, etc. Again, this doesn't mean other people don't have power, other people don't have money, etc. Things like that, but they're the principal people right now. In times past, other people were principal. What we're saying is Jesus and his people, which is us, are going to be principal. And when we're principal, those people, they're going to be in the situation that we're in now. That's what we mean by they're doomed. Their damnation is just switching places with us.
Pretty much, you guys are going to be in power.
We're going to be in power. They're going to be at the bottom.
Do you believe that Jews control America? A lot of people do be saying that.
I think that they have some of the biggest influence for sure. 100%. For sure.
Do you think that? Because why would they call themselves the Jews? That's what I want to get into.
Because that's God's chosen people. If you're going to steal any identity, why not the people that God chose?
But what benefits does it come with saying that I'm a Jew?
Well, what benefits it is...
Why would they do that is what I'm getting at.
The number one benefit, right? If we read in Deuteronomy 4, right? It's 4 or 6, where it says, it's 4, after Baal Peor. In Deuteronomy 4, God is telling us about these commandments that he's given us. And he says, when the other people hear about this, they're going to say, what a wise and understanding people, because of the commandments that they have, the customs that they have, right? Those laws that God gave us were made to inherently empower us as a people. So through them coming in and subverting our identity, they inherited those rules and regulations that God gave us that naturally empower us as a people. So now they're naturally empowered because they're practicing those laws. So not only do they get the perception of being the chosen, they get the guidebook that God gave the chosen. He was so gracious to give us. And through that, they're manifesting and empowering themselves. And we see where they are now as far as economically, as far as politically, etc.
I see. I know recently, before we got on this interview, you say you're at No Jumper.
Yes, sir. Right?
And Adam 22 gets a lot of backlash.
For sure.
You know, they say he incites beefs in the streets. And like, how do you feel about Adam 22?
I think that with Adam, it's crazy because, like, I don't understand certain people's critiques, because it's like, I feel like people think he's supposed to be somebody other than who he is. This is a white guy. He's a businessman. He's created a platform, and he's gonna do what's best for business. Like I know people that like really can't stand Adam. And the first time I went to No Jumper, of course, I go there dealing with Flacco. So I go to No Jumper, me, Flacco, and Brick Baby. We had our first interview. I met Adam that time. Hey, I shook his hand. I let him know. Flacco was trying to tell him about, hey, look, this guy's a good debater. But I'm like, hey, if you ever need me, let me know. I'll be here. I'll fly in. It's no problem. I understand who Adam is. The scriptures tell us in Deuteronomy 28, one of the curses that would befall us was that we would have to go to our enemy in want of all things. People outside of us were going to be the people who we would have to go to. Not just our enemy in one of all things, but it also says that the stranger that would...
My bad.
Go ahead, King.
To go to and what exactly?
To go to for anything in one of all things. So they're who we have to look to if we want to buy clothes, if we want to get food. They control all these things. It also says that the stranger that is within us shall get up above us very high. So it's not a mystery to me why a white guy is able to come from New Hampshire to LA and become the top media personality or build the biggest platform in LA, because the curses of God already told me that this was going to happen to us. So me understanding all those things, I get it. I understand that this is the disposition that we're in due to our disobedience. So I don't have a problem with the fact that, hey, we got to go to his shop in order to put on for our people. That's just the nature of where we're at right now as a people. It's unfortunate, but it just is what it is. So to me, the expectation, a lot of people have a problem with him because they have like some strange expectation of him. To me, I understand he's doing what's best for business, what's good for ratings. And I'm not surprised by nothing he got going on, and I'm a consumer of that content. I'm watching No Jumper Show every time. I'm entertained by what they do, and I'm grateful for the opportunity I have to contribute when I do go on that platform, for sure.
So there's still some white people that you do fuck with,
For sure, hell yeah.
like off the back, like right now, like who are your top 5 white people of all time? In order.
Top 5 all time?
All time.
Stone Cold Steve Austin, number 1.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, and I think we need to really check his lineage because I don't know. The way that motherfucker walk, to say he's a white boy, I think that's a little bit of a. We got to go back and we got to do a DNA test. Stone Cold. Hey, my mom's white, right? So my mom definitely. Hey, Milk 74 content creator. I like Milk 74. You know what I'm saying? That's a homie. So I'm always gonna show love to Milk, whether people like it or not. That's the homie. Who else, man? Probably maybe Macho Man. I'm big on wrestling. Maybe Macho
white.
Man. But
That was like an Arab or something.
He's Sicilian. So that's even funny too, because there's even some stuff about Macho Man, like him and his dad used to run around with this black dude, and they would be punking out a lot of the white wrestlers. So I don't know about his. He might have something back in his lineage too. But it's definitely some white people I mess with.
So
for
there's
sure.
still some white people you rock with.
For sure,
Okay.
100%. You can't just, when people act like they just can't deal with anybody, like a lot of people don't understand even hatred and nationalism. Because if I say I love my people, I prefer my people, that doesn't mean that I just can't have any relationship with anybody else. And it's necessary for me to enrich my people to have relationships with people outside of ourselves. If I know Adam is in control of a top platform, why would I beef with him? Why would I have a problem with him? If I know that my people, when they have a No Jumper event, it's a bunch of Mexicans in the crowd, right? It's a lot of black people in the crowd that consume that content. Well, if I want to reach that audience, why would I have a problem with the person who is facilitating that? That don't make no sense to me. You see what I'm saying? So definitely, like I said, I watch his content, and I'm entertained by him. Just, I'm entertained by everybody on the cast, my bro Brick Baby and stuff like that, but I'm definitely entertained by Adam. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So I rock with him for sure.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Shit. Fuck. You going to All-Star Weekend after this?
Yeah, I'm headed up to the Bay, be the will of the Lord, and go to All-Star Weekend. Yes, sir.
What's the goal right there? What you guys trying to do out there?
Man, teach. So, we try to go to the big events. Like we go to Super Bowl every year. I just got back from New Orleans. So we just go to the big events because it's going to be a lot of people there. So it gives us an opportunity to spread the message to like a large group of people. So, we always try to take advantage of that.
Is that part of being a Hebrew Israelite? You got to go out and spread the word?
Yeah, evangelism. Christ evangelized, and he gave a commission for his followers to go and evangelize. So that's definitely a major part of what we do is go out there and evangelize.
No, I see.
For sure.
In LA, bro, it's kind of like, and I get this a lot from the audience out there in Texas in the food community. They'll like to say a lot, bro, that like the Mexicans and blacks are racist out here in LA. And you not LA, in California, period. You growing up in California, has that been your experience?
Some, for sure. But I'm gonna be real with you. Black and Hispanic racism in California is not real. And what I mean by it's not real is we'll talk shit to each other, but I don't believe I've truly witnessed a dedicated racist black or Mexican person. I've seen dedicated shit talkers, but at the end of the day, for a black person, there's always gonna be Mexicans that you love and fuck with, and vice versa. I done seen Mexicans talk shit about black people have Tupac on their wall. Nigga, explain that, right? Yeah. You must not hate black people all that much. You see what I'm saying? So I think a lot of it is there's some people, and a lot of this shit is really gang shit that is being superimposed on civilians too, right? Abuelita walking down the street doesn't care what the hell her grandson got going on and whatever he's writing on the wall. You see what I'm saying? She has no, so to say Mexicans and it's just this guy or this group of guys, and then the average Mexican is not trying to propagate those ideals or having those problems or using those talking points. Come on, fool, that's crazy. But I think that it definitely exists because I've participated in. There was a time where I would talk shit, racist shit against Mexicans, but I got Mexican homeboys. So I had to go, well, how stupid do you sound? You see what I'm saying? You don't truly feel like that. You're saying shit to get under particular individual skin. but you're doing it that is offensive to a whole lot more people. So how about if two gangs are beefing and they don't like each other and one happens to be black and one happens to be Mexican, how about we just keep it right there? Diss that hood. You don't have to diss that race of people, because 9 times out of 10, it's a couple of them that's on each side any damn way, especially in Southern California. We see it all the time. It's a couple black fools from this hood. It's a couple Mexicans from this hood. So why are we, if we that discriminate, why are we letting them join the ranks at all? You see what I'm saying? So a lot of it is just foolishness, and it goes back to the love. At the end of the day, the black and brown man is not looking himself in the mirror in the morning and loving his motherfucking self. And that's where a lot of that shit comes from. But as somebody who also lived in Texas for a year, it's the Mexicans in Texas is different. They're different than the ones. The California Chicano culture is unique compared to elsewhere, for sure.
Explain. Get into that.
Everything. Like, I remember the first time I saw a cholo in Texas. It was rare, because the ones who I see in Texas, they don't look like, they don't dress, they don't present, they don't talk like how the Mexicans that I grew up with are, look, dress, talk, etc. It's totally different. So I remember when I said, I'm like, damn, look at that, man, an essay in Texas. I'm surprised, because, you know, a lot of people, they like to take the term essay and blanket it. They don't even know what the hell an essay is. You see what I'm saying? I know what it is, so I know every Mexican is not an essay. I know that's a specific group of Mexicans, right? So, you know, and then I remember I was gone for a while from California, and I stayed at this hotel, and it was some guys working in the hotel. He was all face tatted, and I said, damn, man, I ain't seen an essay in a while, man. You know, it's good to see one, because the ones who I encounter when I leave the West Coast, just completely different. The culture, everything about them, you know, they're more like Edgar, you know, more like the Edgar wave as opposed to like the Cholo wave. For sure.
Going back to the essay part, right? Like about 3 or 4 years ago, Peso was calling himself the hardest essay ever, and the Cali fools were on his ass, because they were like, "Bro, like, you ain't no essay. Like,
you a blood.
You don't even know the real definition."
Exactly.
Do you feel like that type of backlash was just?
For sure, because you a blood. If you a Paru, you not no essay. Essay is a S. You know, people think, I don't know if people know what that just means, the letter S. Right? For the South Side. You're not a South Sider. So how are you the hardest South Sider and not a South Sider? And then some people say, well, that's just how we talk. Well, you might have to fix that, because the essay means something very particular. You see what I'm saying? So that's something people got to educate themselves on, because the blood ain't an essay. Never. Just because you're every Mexican is not an essay, and that's very ignorant of somebody to say, for sure.
Do you feel like that type of backlash was just then?
Yeah, for sure.
Because he came from a place of not being, like, he wasn't educated on that word.
Exactly.
But people in Texas would say, well, that's just how we talk, bro. That's just how we address another Mexican. You know?
Y'all got to fix that. Certain things got to be fixed, because there's certain corrections that got to be made in certain slang and terminology. Because if it is coming from like a total misuse, bro, I mean, why say it? You know, why use that term? This means something. And then people, you're using a term of a group of people that are pretty serious, right, about certain things. You see what I'm saying? Who kind of don't play when it comes to certain shit. Who blood can be shed behind certain things when you're dealing. A lot of people don't know. They only seen essays on the TV and on YouTube and stuff like that. They seen a hood vlog, or they seen a picture of somebody with some tattoos, but they never been in these situations. They never been in jail. They don't understand that the politics are serious and they're nothing to play with. So you could easily just say you're the hardest Mexican, and you would be in your right to say that because you are Mexican. You're not an essay though. You know, and that's a title, and that's an identification that is associated with some serious shit, man. And if you're not a part of that, you shouldn't portray that.
Yeah, bro. Because I remember when that shit popped off.
That shit was viral on Full Community.
No, that shit went viral, bro. That shit went viral, and I remember a rapper out there out of Fort Worth, White Team Little Vent.
Yeah, Little Vent. Yeah.
He was on Peso's ass, because he was like, bro, you can't be calling yourself the hardest essay ever when you're not even a real Mexican. His whole thing was, you're not a real Mexican because you don't speak Spanish.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, is that valid?
I don't think it's valid totally. I think that sometimes we go out our way to alienate ourselves from each other. Like, we'll find any reason to invalidate one of our own selves. Like, oh, you don't speak Spanish, you're not a real Mexican. And that comes from
where, do you think?
I think I think it comes from a lack of love there too. Right? So there's a law that God has, and he says, when you have a brother that's sojourning from somewhere else, he's traveling, he's on a journey from somewhere else, you treat him just like he's born where you're from, right? That's an act of love. Like a lot of Haitians, when Haitians first started coming to this country in major waves into like Miami, African Americans, Bahamians, Jamaicans, they wasn't treating us right. They was attacking us. They was saying all kind of negative things like that, simply because you're from somewhere else, right? So a lot of times we see that amongst our people where we look for any reason to invalidate somebody. And you should, instead of saying you're not a real Mexican because you don't speak Spanish, how about reaching, this is a fellow Texas brother, why don't reach out to him and help get him involved and more deeply ingrained in the culture if you feel like he's not involved in it. Like I seen what Little Vent was saying, especially about like, hey, if you're a Mexican, like you need to know where your people come from, what state your people come from in Mexico, and be familiar with the history.
But
and
then again,
he's right. I agree. But go ahead.
Then again, if we're being factual, that's not technically our language, right?
Exactly.
Spanish, right?
Spanish is not our language anyway. So now we fighting over which oppressor language we speak better. Come on, fool. Like let's be real here. So in on one end, I feel them, but what I feel like, instead of using shit to talk shit and invalidate people, we need to use these opportunities to educate. Hey, bro, you need to really tap in with your roots and your Mexican heritage and culture and get more familiar with it. Like I remember the NFL player Tony Gonzalez. He was Mexican, but he didn't speak no Spanish, and they did a whole documentary about him spending the off season, one of the off seasons in Mexico, learning, getting immersed in the culture and learning Spanish because he didn't know it. That's something you as a Mexican person, him as a Mexican person, peso, he should be aiming to do. Right? Just so you're culturally aware. Like in being a Hebrew Israelite, we have an overarching ideology, but also I'm Haitian. But even in being Haitian, I grew up with predominantly Black Americans. And then when I moved to California, Black Americans and Mexican Americans. So I didn't grow up immersed in Haitian culture, but I take every opportunity to get further immersed as that I have. So I have whatever my family had, and then I had things that I gained through my own research or through going and immersing myself amongst Haitian Americans here in the States. So I think you should do that just so you have a strong sense of self.
So even though you were born in America, correct?
Yeah, born in America.
Even though you're born in America, you still go out your way to learn about your culture out there in Haiti, correct?
1,000%. 1,000%.
So there's a content creator out there in Texas, Nino America.
Uh-huh.
He's a Trump supporter, and pretty much he completely denounced, like he went on video and said he denounces his brown skin, right? And he pretty much made a statement saying, like, I live in America, my family were from Mexico, but we not from there nowhere. We live in America, and anything they got going on, that's not my problem. So do you frown upon that? Him not digging into his roots and his culture?
Yeah, because if you don't get into your roots, you're never going to understand yourself. Like the deeper I get into my roots, the better I understand why I am the way I am, what makes me I understand myself through looking at the past, right? Job 8:8 says, prepare yourself for the search of your fathers. So you need to delve into that familial history in order to understand. Like when I take a look at my family history and I look at what happened just in my experience, my dad, my brothers, me, it's history repeating. That history is going to repeat itself. There's nothing you can do about it. So you're better off educating yourself on that history so you're prepared for it when it comes, as opposed to saying, hey, I denounce my brown skin, we're American. That America is made up of all kind of people. So how are you just going to denounce your brown skin when brown skin is a contributor to America, and America is on pace to being predominantly brown in the next 25 years anyway? So how stupid are you going to be when white people ain't the majority anymore? And now here we are, the majority, and now you done came up with this, malinchismo ass ideology, this coon ass ideology. That's crazy.
Well, his whole thing was, I denounce my brown skin because all my brown skin has ever done was kill other people. That was his reasoning behind it.
And that's cute and all. I feel it because we do kill each other. But if we take a look at the statistics between how much we've killed each other and how much they've killed us, it's going to pale in comparison. So we can't denounce and say all my skin done is killed, and that's a gross misrepresentation. It's like Chicago. Chicago has 2 million people. About 1 million or over 1 million black and brown people cumulatively. Like 1% of Chicago is responsible for all of the violence that occurs there. Right. So to say, well, all we do in Chicago is kill each other, but that's 1%. The other 99% of black and Hispanic people in Chicago are not killing anybody. So how is your brown skin only kill people when it's only the minority of people with brown skin who are doing this violence?
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's definitely dangerous to generalize the whole group of people just based off a small fraction.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because the average person you see,
like what corporate America does, right? With minorities. All blacks do this. All Mexicans do this. You know?
Even like with a lot of this controversy that's around like what you call it? Like the radio, local radio here in LA, and people are like, oh, why isn't there no black voices? Now they're only putting Mexicans. Well, the corporation is looking like the Mexican population is swelling, so this is who we want to cater to, and this is how we cater to them. It's corporate, just thinking that this is how all of these guys are. The ones who want to listen to English music, this is what they want to hear. These are the voices they want to hear. These are so it's that generalization is very dangerous, because the average Mexican person I know is a hardworking person, a person who enjoys food, enjoys a good time, is not a murderer, is not a rapist, is not a drug dealer. So to put that, like I said, like in pop culture in America, every Mexican is either a SA or a cartel member or a maid. These aren't the only things that Mexicans do, right? So those generalizations are very bad, because a guy like Nino America, he buys into it and believes that about himself. And now when he's looking at himself in the mirror, he don't love himself.
Do you feel like he's a victim of the propaganda that America pushes?
He's a victim, and the brother's very weak-minded, because to fall for that, to know your experience, to know what you know, and to fall for that level of indoctrination negatively about your own people, that shit is crazy, bro. It's crazy, for sure.
You feel like it's definitely a form of self-hatred?
For sure. That brother hated to say, I denounce my brown skin. You hate your damn self, bro. For sure. And he got to get a hold of himself.
Can people like that be saved?
Yeah, I think, but they got to go through the mental transformation. The same way that the gangbanger can be saved. You know, that's kind of my area of expertise. I love to reach out to the streets because I come from the streets. But you have to go through, a mental reprogramming of understanding that guy over there on that street, killing him is not the most important thing in the world, bro. He's not the worst person in the world. He's exactly like you, actually. He's just from a couple blocks over. So that it just takes some mental reprogramming. So hopefully that brother comes around and finds his mind, for sure.
The same way Nino America or a gang member can come back, is it the same way a PDF can come back, like a Marvelous? Keep it a buck.
A PDF, I don't know. And the reason why I say a PDF, I don't really think so, is because the scriptures speak about people being given up to vile affections for their ultimate destruction. So people who have been given up to behavior that vile, that evil, of messing with kids, they're not fit for salvation at all. They are made to be destroyed, for sure. For sure, I would believe so.
So let's fast forward, right, to because you had said earlier 3,000 years or however long when God comes back. When God comes back, what exactly do the scriptures say when he comes back?
The scriptures say that there's going to be an elect group of Israelites that will be with Christ, that will fight in a war against the armies of the world, headed by Russia, right? So
Russia?
By Russia, specifically. So specifically, the land of Magog is mentioned prophetically in the Armageddon, the final battle. And when you look up Magog, what modern day Magog is Russia. So Russia figures prominently in end time prophecy. So to see what Russia's doing, you always have to watch them, because they are explicitly singled out in end time prophecy as being the people who are going to lead the armies of the world against Christ. You see what I'm saying? So in that end time, there will be a battle fought between Christ's army, the army of Israel, and the armies of the world headed by Russia. And of course, Christ will prevail. His army will win. And then at that point, Christ will conquer the world and subject the world to Israel and to the God of Israel.
Do you believe in your lifetime we will see Russia make a move on America?
I'm hopeful.
You're hopeful, actually.
I would say I'm hopeful.
Because why are you hopeful? I mean, that
I'm hopeful just because understanding the prophecy and looking what's going on, it's looking good right now, right? It's looking good. But also that hopefulness that is in me through me wanting it, if it doesn't happen, that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Because that's where sometimes people get it twisted, where they, like when people try to say the year 2000 was going to be the end of the world, you might have hoped for that. That didn't make it the end of the world. Or 2012, you might have hoped for that, but that didn't make it the end of the world. God determines when the end of the world. And he told, when they asked Jesus, well, Yahushua, they asked him, well, when is the end of the world? And he said, no man knoweth the day nor the hour, no, not the angels in heaven, but only my Father. So only the Most High knows when the end is. So we can be as hopeful as we want to be. If it don't come, that don't mean it's not going to come. That means he decides when it comes. It's not coming at our time. But am I hopeful? Yes, I'm only hopeful because if I look at the prophecies and I look at what's going on, things are definitely headed in that direction. At any point, God can derail things. He can stop things. He can reverse things. That's entirely up to him. But as far as it stands now, I'm definitely hopeful.
Now that we're on the countries, a lot of Americans say that 20, 30 years from now, China is going to take over. Do you believe in that at all?
I believe that China is certainly in a hell of a position to. I believe that a dependency upon China that the world, especially the United States of America, has is very unhealthy and definitely puts China in a unique position to take over. We got this TikTok thing that everybody's on, that they're owning and controlling, and they could control the propaganda. They have people addicted. The women in my life, they sit on TikTok shop all damn day. I'm talking to this girl the other day. She's like, yeah, I've just casually spent $300 on TikTok shop, So they have our people. And not even just our people, they have America by the balls, essentially. So are they in good position? Yeah, and I believe that China also figures into that prophecy. It's just Russia has the emphasis, that Magog word. Anybody can look this up in the Bible. There's the emphasis on that, but we know that they're in bed with each other. They have military, political, and economic alliances with each other. So if one of them's coming, the other one's going to come, so we're going to see them. So definitely I think it's plausible.
I think I seen a comment not too long ago. You had mentioned something about how China is slowly taking over parts of Mexico. And a lot of people don't know this.
Yeah.
Can you get into that a little bit?
Yeah, so they're strategically placing themselves in Mexico. They're trying to build something like the Panama Canal in Nicaragua. They came to Haiti and offered Haiti like $30 billion to rebuild our infrastructure. They're also doing things all over Africa as well. And these are to put themselves in strategic positions closer to the United States to help their economics, but also to place themselves in a certain way militarily. They even built a military base there in Cuba. So they want to militarily put themselves here in the region in case war breaks out, to give them a more strategic advantage at launching attacks. For sure.
So that could be in the future then, them trying to make a move on America.
For sure.
Oh,
For sure. I think it's inevitable. I think it's definitely inevitable, for sure.
A lot of people say that the war wouldn't necessarily kick off like that. Like, I think I've seen the president of El Salvador say that America is already destroying themselves, right, within themselves, through, like, you see the way California is being governed with the homeless, with the drug problem. He pretty much said, he alluded to the fact that no country needs to come in and take over America. America is already slowly destroying themselves.
Yeah, he got a point. I saw this clip of Andrew Tate the other day that was crazy, right? And it was called Race War. And he was like, well, who's going to win the race war? And he's like, well, we don't actually have to do anything. You guys are not producing babies, right? You're dying more than you're being born. We keep making all the babies in the world. He's like, it's like we really slowly are conquering you guys, because you guys stole us to build an empire, and now you guys are going to phase out, and we're just going to be left to it. So it's almost like it's worked in reverse on them, where they thought they got over. If we just hold out, keep doing what we do, making babies, we're going to win in the end, right? So there is a point to that. I certainly think so. But I also think that because of the nature of the conflict and the different things that are going to happen, that there is going to be an engagement. But also, if you leave America to its devices, over time, certainly, America's going, like any empire, like Rome, like all the empires, people got to understand, America is not exempt from what we can historically view of all the empires that preceded. Eventually, every empire falls. So you can sit back and allow it to fall, or you can force it into military conflict and bring it down. Either way, every empire inevitably falls.
Shit, no, it's real. Shit, 2025 just kicked off. What can we expect from Grla Hebrew?
I mean, you know, I'm just doing everything, man. We just trying to go big this year, spread this word, you know, make different appearances, you know, do different things and help to, you know, people that have awareness about this Hebrew Israelite thing. And it's not just screaming at white people. That's like a minority of what we're about. We're really about loving Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian people. Like, that's it. And following the laws of God. And we want our people to understand that it's not as impractical as you would think to be in alignment with the commandments of God.
Keep it 100. When you go preach the word in the streets and like you tell white people like, hey, get on your knees and kiss my foot. Do you get a kick out of it?
For sure. For sure. Hell yeah. You damn right. For sure, for sure.
Oh shit.
For sure.
Well, is there anything you want to leave the people with?
Man, I just want to say all praise to the Most High, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. You are the descendants of the 12 tribes of Israel. Repent, come back to your God, love yourself, love your God, love your people. You know, you can look me up, Grla Hebrew, on all platforms. I'm chief priest of an organization called Sakari. We operate all over the country. We operate in Latin America, Mexico, Peru, Puerto Rico. We operate overseas, the Netherlands, England. So, you know, check out our information, man. We got brothers all over the place teaching this word and demonstrating what it looks like to actually live out the commandments of God and stand for your people.
That's right. Well, shit, bro. I appreciate you sliding through, man.
Bro.
No, a lot of game dropped on this interview, bro.
Yes, sir. This is power.
This will be a good one, man.
Yes, sir.
You know, well, shit, man. Appreciate you sliding through, man. Wish you and your camp nothing but the best.
You too, bro.
And, you know, we're going to be on the lookout for all the content you got coming out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know? Well, shit, well, there it is. Grla Hebrew, Food Community. We out.